Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to ESA Winter 2021. We are raising money for Alzheimer's funding. Links to donate can be found below the stream. We'd like to take this time to thank Koei Tecmo Europe and Neo 2, the complete edition that just got released recently this month and will be run coming up very, very soon as well. But before that, right now, we have Kuru going to be running Need for Speed Most Wanted. Take it away.
Right, guys. Hey guys, Kuru here. Today with Need for Speed Most Wanted 80%. And some of you might remember our run from 2 years ago, but basically everything has changed since then. The entire game has been completely rerouted and is now about 10 minutes faster than the old run has been. And I'm gonna be today co-commentated by my good friend Eden.
Yep, what's up? I'm Dustin, and I am Kuru's YouTube editor / mod / second brain. And yeah, I'll be joining Kuru today on his run, and we'll be co-commentating a little bit, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Alright, so I'm ready on my side. Gonna immediately explain to you the first glitch that we're gonna have to do in this game. So, can I start the countdown?
Yeah, you go when you're ready.
Alright, 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so first thing up is the lap glitch. This, as the name says, changes the lap number to 1 and turns off the traffic for the events that we are selecting. This is gonna save us a lot of time if we don't have to actually do every single lap that the game wants us to do. That was one of the first glitches that we implemented into the speedrun of Most Wanted. And you can do that prematurely before you even go into the career mode. This is, in the quick race custom race mode, and you do that basically before you jump into the career mode. And it's always going to carry over. The only downside of that is we're going to have to do it every single time we start a new chapter. So let me just adjust a little thing on the side while you enjoy the cutscene. So, as I mentioned earlier, the first time we ran this at ESA Summer 2018, where we had a little bit more of a logical playthrough through the career, where we already had one of the biggest glitches established, which is the boss skip, where we basically skip every second boss. And by logical step, I meant we basically skipped every second boss. But this new route switches it up a little bit, where we're not gonna immediately skip the first boss, but instead actually do number 14 on the blacklist and then start with the boss skips. So yeah, first things first, we got our car here and we're gonna go through the prologue. We just entered the city with our car, we're doing races, we're trying to get infamous and get ourselves noticed. At the very beginning we had our introduction to Razor, the first guy on the blacklist that we're supposed to beat. So it was basically a preview of a preview, because actually what we did first was run against his lackeys. So right now we get Ronnie here. He actually has 2 cars in this game. First up he has the Supra, which I personally like a lot more than his car later on. Luckily, not really much has changed in the prologue, so if you've seen that before, nothing much has changed here. Maybe the racing line has improved a little bit further than before, but that's about it.
Yeah, and it's quite rough actually. I really hope at some point there's at least something to spice up the prologue, because it's mostly just 10 minutes of just racing.
The good thing about that is it's very consistent. You can't really do much wrong.
Yeah, true.
It's nice when you have some, parts in the speedrun where nothing can go wrong. There's no RNG element that can mess with you. So I personally like it quite a bit.
That being said, sometimes you do still hit some invisible walls and
that is true.
You have a talent for that.
I'm certain we're gonna hit the corner sticking out as well as invisible walls and sometimes even invisible cars in this game.
True,
Do you remember the weirdest thing that happened to you playing through this game?
To be honest, it's been a while since I did like a casual playthrough of Most Wanted actually. Like I've mostly been actually modding the game and doing some fun stuff with it and then just playtesting it.
Yeah, we'll definitely get a chance to talk about that later. The thing is, once you learned all the speedrunning tricks in this game, you can't really play it normally anymore. At least it becomes very hard. Once you know how you can outsmart the cops as well as which events, you know, are faster by default and those kind of things, it's really hard to undo that mindset of playing the game that way. So yeah, second prologue race here against Bull. That's like the first time you actually do get recognized by a few others as well. Getting hit up here by Raj.
It took me the longest time to realize he's pronounced Raj.
Same. I always pronounce him wrong.
But honestly, I blame the German version. You know, since I'm
that
German,
is true.
I played the German version.
We both played the German version first.
And he is called Rog in there, so it's not my fault. It's the dubbing team's fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's the shortened version of Roger. That makes sense, right?
That makes absolute sense. Yeah.
But you never get his name as Roger. You only see the SMS, where he's called Rog, and that's about it.
And Roger sounds kind of weird.
Yeah. By the way, guys, about 15 minutes in, there's gonna be the cut-off for the donation war for our car color. I think right now green is leading, so if you want to change that last minute, now's your chance. If you want to see the Golf, which is gonna be our car later, in a certain color, now it's the time to go.
Definitely a quick update on that. As you said, green is currently in the lead with $60, but on the heels there we have cyan and blue both at 10. But of course there is purple, red and yellow. You've got about 10 minutes to get your donations in if you want to snipe that car color.
Green Golf. What is wrong with you guys?
nitrous color.
Ah,
Makes sense, right?
Alright.
By the way, this is the only race that we cannot lap glitch. This is the one race where you're gonna see that we're actually gonna have to do the full 2 laps. It hurts to see. The only race that does not allow for it. Although the race itself by itself exists, even if you do select it in the early beginning, it still doesn't work. I'm not sure if the exact reasons are known. At the very least, they're unknown to me. Alright. So yeah, we beat his 2 lackeys, we build up some reputation driving against other drivers. This is one of the unskippable cutscenes. And now we're gonna get challenged officially by the number 15 guy on the blacklist, Razor.
What's up, poser? I'm glad you're putting it down out there. I really am, because I can't wait to get a crack at that ride. What? Didn't anybody tell you? You gotta put your ride on the line to run against a blacklist racer, and that is why people aren't stupid enough.
Always hurts to see to lose that car in the beginning. That was actually one of the first things that I did when I started streaming, because all the Most Wanted fans, they kind of have the same fantasies in their head when they started replaying this game. Like, what if you could have just kept this car? Or what if you could what if you could win that race against Razor? Like, if you look up exactly those buzzwords, those phrases on YouTube, you're gonna find super popular videos.
I can actually tell you exactly what happens if you do somehow manage to win this race.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you can somehow manage it, that you finish the race before your car breaks down, and spoilers, sorry. It actually says, you know, it's basically the same prompt you get when you fail a challenge series event. It basically just says, you failed, challenge incomplete. And then you get like the results screen and then you have to restart. So you're doomed no matter what.
Ah. So the game can't really differentiate if you win or not. It's basically if the event ends, you lose.
Yeah, pretty much. It's quite funny.
It's a good failsafe though, from a development standpoint. I like that.
Yeah, for sure. It's quite funny. It's like the race is a challenge, and you know, if you manage to get across the line, you know, you fail the challenge. Like you have to wreck your car.
There's plenty of other ways to break the game, to make it freeze or just make it incompletable. So it's good. It's good that they thought about some things. Then again, if you dig deep enough, you're always going to find a way to break a game.
And one thing that would be really nice to quote-unquote break is if you could somehow take the M3 and carry it over to the rest of the career. Like that would make the run way faster.
I think generally being able to glitch a upgraded car of any kind into your new save file, that would obviously save a huge amount of time. If you could skip all of the upgrading sessions, or anything that really makes it possible for you to get access to upgrades earlier. Like all of that makes your car faster earlier is gonna save you a lot of time. So there we go. Car broke down, we lost, but we're getting a little bit of extra cash to get our first car. And yeah, if you do have an Underground 2 save file on your system, which works I think on every console and PC with the exception of the 360, you get 10,000 extra cash, and this will allow you to buy the fastest starter car. Which, in this case, obviously, is the Golf.
Golf is better.
The Golf is better.
Speaking of the Golf, we got a few donations here for the Golf, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, we got a $5 donation from 3J saying, if it's for a good cause, it's not wasted money, and puts it towards yellow. We also have a $51 donation from Sino with no message, putting it towards blue. So right now, blue would be winning by $1. If it wasn't for Head Dragon coming in with $70 donation with no donation message, putting it towards purple, putting purple in the lead, and then the Unpunished just came in with $10 saying, hey Kuru, just tuned in to say hello and good luck with the run. Let's have fun and fight Alzheimer's today. And please don't forget that you need to skip Bull. And also put it towards purple. So right now, an update on that. I believe purple is currently taking the lead right now.
Yeah, you have 2 to 3 minutes right now. I'm gonna do this race and one more, and then I'm gonna have enough money for the upgrades of the car and the color.
Yeah,
so
right
I basically
now,
do one race extra.
Well, right now purple is winning with $80. Green is on 60. Blue is on 61. Now is your time to snipe it.
Yeah.
If
now
you want to
snipe
it.
So this race is about 40% left, less than a minute, and then one more race that is about a minute. So yeah, now you gotta be really quick. If you want to color, that's your chance. Actually, you are in luck. You're gonna have some extra time because since I just found the cops, I will do the cop chase right now. That actually does make it better for us. That actually is good for the run because we're gonna build up a little bit of heat level and we're gonna have the backup immediately active at the end of a race. So that's actually one of the strategies that we want to abuse as much as possible in the run. Find the cops during a race, build the heat level, and also guarantee us a quick respawn rate of the cops themselves.
However, you will lose your heat level again if you change the color.
Oh, that is true.
Kinda...
Yeah, you're right.
But you can do the milestones already though and get the bounty, so it's okay.
Marathon strats. It's basically what we're gonna do. We're gonna get 2 trade paints and then we're gonna spend 2 minutes with the cops. Man, an untuned Golf is so slow. Actually, you actually feel like how it could actually get busted by Condition 1 cops. But yeah, we can chill here a little bit.
Yeah, Condition 1 comps generally are fairly harmless low. Like, it's pretty impossible to get busted by them.
I will tell you, you do notice it quite a bit when you don't have the engine upgrade. Like, usually what I'm doing right now is marathon strats because we're gonna color the car. but not having the engine upgrade is quite noticeable. Oh, here's a fun fact about the Golf itself. The turbo that is stock equipped on the Golf is a little bit buggy. If you upgrade it, it gets weaker. So the stock turbo that you get from the very beginning actually ends up being the fastest turbo, period, for this car. But only on this car. The other cars are coded correctly. Just for this car, they messed up the data for the turbo stats. So upgrading it actually makes the Golf slower. So you can save yourself a lot of money just not upgrading the turbo, and some menuing too, because you don't need to do the upgrading of the turbo itself. And the next trick is going to be taking out the cops at the 53-second mark. It takes 7 seconds to escape, so if we take them out at 53, that is going to give us pretty much exactly a 2-minute chase, which is what we need for the milestones. Those milestones that you see in the right upper corner, you need to complete those in order to unlock the bosses in the first place. So yeah, that was pretty good. If you want to do it absolutely perfectly, you could have saved another second there, but not really something you want to risk. Exactly, you would be paying for a downgrade. But as far as I know, the Golf is the only car that has that. I am not sure about that though. I wouldn't be surprised if there are other cars that have exactly the same problem, but nobody has discovered it yet or disclosed it because it's irrelevant for the speedrun. Right, this is it. When I finish this race, we get the cutoff for the color.
Well, while you're going through that race, we got a $20 donation from Makibaki saying, good luck, have fun, Kuro. Let's see that ESA purple, so you know where that one went. Purple's speeding away right now, just like Kuro did from the cops there.
Thank you, Makibaki. 20 seconds away. Because the reason you do it that way is you basically finish here by crashing into the wall. It allows you to turn around as quick as possible at the end of the race and get your car upgraded. Alright, this is it. What is the color?
The color is definitely purple. Let me just confirm, no last minute snipes here. No, you're right. It is purple. Purple with a clear victory there.
It is purple. Fantastic. Congratulations on all the purple. I think I'm gonna go with the... Where is it? The Carbon Reaper. That one looks good. We're actually gonna need that spoiler in order to have extra downforce here. So what's like the best ESA purple? I think that one. I think that one fits it really well. Alright, and with that we're gonna go into the last race here. For this chapter. I like it. Very, very intense color.
Oh, it's good though.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's quite nice. So yeah, with the money that we got from the first races, we got our engine upgrade, which helps out quite a bit in the beginning. And also we got a spoiler upgrade, and that will allow us to tune the aerodynamics to +5. That tuning basically increases the downforce on our car and will help us immensely to turn at faster speeds. And yeah, once again, if you just tuned in, this is where the lap glitch is activated. Instead of doing all 3 laps after the first lap, it's just over. You gotta be careful though, you wanna be and you must be in first. Because if you're in second, you're just also gonna lose after the first lap. And it's the last thing we have to do to unlock the boss. It's part of the milestones, one of the speed traps. Alright, and that is gonna unlock the first boss. Going straight to Sunny. Eden, you know why I like Sunny the most?
Why?
What do you think?
Because he drives a Golf?
Bingo. He knows what a good car is.
I will actually say, I think Sonny's Golf is probably one of my favorite Blacklist cars. Like, there's some Blacklist cars that look absolutely outrageous. But Sonny's is actually decent.
I mean, you're a big fan of Asian culture, right? So that has something to do with it, right?
Maybe. Actually, no, I think it just looks really great, like the color composition and the body kit. Like a lot of the other Blacklist cars are just completely overdone.
Yeah.
But that one's pretty decent.
I mean, some of them are straight up horrible.
Yeah. What's your least favorite one, actually? Mine is probably Ronnie's.
Yeah, yours is Ronnie's. I mean, Ronnie's is pretty bad, I gotta be honest. But also Taz's Lexus is the thing that I can't stand. You're gonna see that car very soon, guys. And so just wait until we get to the next boss here. And yeah, when it comes down to like basic strats for pretty much any racing game that you want to speedrun, racing line is going to be so important. Just knowing the tracks in and out, getting good lines, knowing where to use the nitrous, and also the speed breaker, an ability that we're going to use quite a bit later on. What did you want to say?
I was just about to say how usually in the old route we would now, after we beat Sonny, do the boss skip, which basically skips over the next boss and straight to number 13. But the current route has kind of changed where we don't actually want to skip Taz, which is the next one. Which is kind of crazy to think about, because if you think, you can skip Blacklist members, why wouldn't you just skip everyone? Well, it turns out by only skipping, well, not skipping Taz and then skipping everyone else is actually faster because of a few reasons.
Yeah, it comes down to actually quite a few things. Like it's a mix of the events themselves end up being shorter, but also you get the heat level gifted for your car, which basically reduces the amount you spend with the cops as well. Although it is quite counterintuitive, because you do end up doing an extra boss battle and an extra chapter indeed.
Yeah, in the old route, most of the time was really just spent building up your heat level to the maximum heat, which is level 5. But I'm not actually sure which chapter it is. Is it in Bolts? But basically you get like a message, and it's basically like, hey, here's your max heat level, enjoy.
Yeah, it is during Bull.
Oh yeah, okay.
So yeah, now I must not do the boss skip. We will show you that in the next chapter. So now I'm hoping to get a cash marker, and we did actually. That's important because if you do get the cash, there's no need for us to sell our car, like the other car that we just won. Because either you get the cash, the car, or both. But at the very least, you're always gonna have enough money to keep it going. I jumped over the gearbox, so I'm gonna get the gearbox, the transmission, and the nitrous. Are we getting tires here? No, we're not. Alright, same play here. We're gonna do the speed traps here. For optimal menuing, you do the speed traps first because you actually start with a fully loaded nitrous. If you do that after a race and he drove properly, you used all of your NOS and you wouldn't have any left. So this is where, the routing comes into play, where you gotta make sure you do the right stuff in the right time. At the right time. So yeah, we're doing the 2 speed traps first, and then we're gonna do the lab glitches for this chapter. So yeah, you go to the quick race mode, you go to custom race, to the circuits. For this chapter, it's event number 4 and 3. Basically, you need to select the event, and once you're in the car selection, it is glitched. Got the Rosewood College on the knockout events. And here's one of the most infuriating things for me personally. The menus have a lag on it, so you can't menu as fast as you would like to. you're always gonna have to wait for the menu to respond. So basically, spamming the buttons is gonna make you as fast as possible in the menus. But you know, after playing so many other games, I really started to enjoy just having instant menus. And if you know how the menu is set up, you can just be way faster. So, since we also got ourselves a suspension upgrade, we can now go for steering, handling, and ride height tuning. And all of those end up being just faster. It's gonna help us, you know, corner faster. It's gonna help us dealing with rough roads, like going on the sidewalk, jumping, and a little bit of... Wait a second, I went into the wrong direction, I just noticed. It's handling -1 in the beginning. Later on, when the car gets faster, we're gonna go towards a handling +1, because we need it. But in the beginning, you actually can do -1. You do sacrifice a little bit of handling at, you know, at the advantage of getting some extra speed. So it really is just, you know, it was a lot of trial and error. Not done by me, but I did adopt that tuning, and I found it to be faster for myself as well. This is a speed breaker. It gives you a little bit of a, you know, slow motion effect, which actually gives you also more grip. That's gonna help you to get around corners without braking, with the idea of, you know, keeping more speed alive after you finish the corner. So what I'm hoping for here is to actually find cops before the race ends. If not, that basically adds 90 seconds. So typical typical marathon luck here. Looks like we're not gonna get the cops. This is usually a straight up reset point. Oh, maybe. Either the cop is in the side or he's right here. Nope, he's... Oh, there you go. He saw us after all. So one thing that I do in actual runs is press the reset button sometimes to make sure that that cop actually does not lose me. Because starting here in this chase is a huge time saver. Actually, it's not 90 seconds, it's 70 seconds if it goes optimally. Most of the time, when one thing goes wrong, some more things go wrong, and it's usually like 80 to 90 seconds. So important for this one here is to find 3 cops though. We can't run away until we have 3 cops on us, otherwise we're gonna be starved on bounty. So we're gonna be babysitting the condition 1 cops here until the game decides to spawn us a 3rd cop. But yeah, in the following chapters I will try to avoid this area here, because if a roadblock gets spawned next to the stadium, there's a pretty good chance that the game crashes, which usually ends up also eliminating your heat level. So you have to rebuild that as well, and yeah, that's a lot of stuff that we don't really want to happen.
Yeah, another word of advice from my side would be to avoid the roundabouts, because the AI likes to go completely haywire when you go next to the roundabout.
Oh yeah, they're really bad at navigating any kind of roundabouts, that is very true. I mean, you can still use it, but either know that you're probably gonna lose the cop, or you're gonna have to slow down even more to get that cop actually following you. So one thing that happened in the last race, we did find the cop, but we found him late. So it actually took a very long time to find the 3rd cop. If you find the cop a little bit earlier there, usually you get the fast cop spawn, and you're gonna have that chase done in basically 30 seconds. It's not immediately a run killer, but once again, it is not optimal. I gotta say that ESA purple is growing on me. Also, if you want to be scientific about it, the contrast from the car to the roads and the other traffic cars and races is very strong, so you could say it's easier to evade stuff now.
I think you're way overthinking that.
Story of my life. Okay, I definitely messed up that lap glitch. Oh, I know what I did. I did 3 and 4 instead of 4 and 5. Okay, so my bad. We're gonna have to do 3 laps here. Now that I think about it, when I think back like 5 minutes, oh yeah, I lap glitch 3 and 4 and not 4 and 5.
I could swear you did that before though, at this particular race. I could
maybe.
swear you did that before.
Maybe, especially when I was like derusting and learning the new route. It is a nice track though. I don't mind to see some extra laps here.
So nice that you decided to do 2 extra laps.
I mean, wind farm. What is more soothing sounds than the wind blowing?
I could say some donations would be nice.
Yeah, go ahead.
We got $5 from Tiny Tim that says, "Hey all, just tuned in to see the start of the Need for Speed run. Good luck with the run, Kuru. Cheers." We also got a $10 anonymous donation that simply says, "Great cause." It is indeed. Thank you for your donations. And then we have a $13.37 donation from Maffin Maido that says, "Hey Kuru, hey Eden, just stopping by to say hi, do something good for the cause, and drop this something you two know me for. Where do Volkswagens go when they retire?
Where?
The old Volks home."
Bruh.
Oh, I hate that joke, but I also love it. Thank you for the donations, folks. Keep the puns and that coming in as well. And just to let you know, a few of those donations went up to our next donation goal that we have. We've got that Final Fantasy VII Remake run coming up. We are going to be climbing the stairs, or are we going to be taking the elevator? You decide. Right now, taking the stairs is at $625 out of that $750. It only needs $125 more, and you get to see Tifa, Barrett, and Cloud climbing those stairs.
Thanks for all the donations, guys. Very much appreciated. And thanks for the cringy jokes. Can't have enough of those.
Kuru, kill me.
If they bring them in, I'll read them.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great to break the ice. I love them. So, unless I did a secondary mistake, this will actually be lap glitched, and we're only gonna have 1 lap here. But I'm pretty confident that worked. So, another piece of information about this game. The lap glitches that you're doing, they actually carry over to other chapters. For example, at the very end of the game, when we've done all of the lap glitches for all the chapters until boss number 2, the last boss is gonna be fully glitched already, although we never ever touched his events. Just because some events are so similar to each other that they do carry over. And that is why it's important, you know, to not mess up early lap glitches, because you might be messing up lap glitches of later chapters. So it does get quite confusing the more deep you go into the meta when it comes to these games' glitches. One thing I generally like about this game's world design is simply that you do have quite often like split pathways that are similar, and you know, depending on the situation, you can basically pick either of them and it's gonna be similarly fast. Because very often, like maybe you don't want to go into the oncoming traffic when you have like an end stage Golf, and you don't want to risk hitting a car from the front. You can still take the other side and, you know, drive with the regular traffic and make it a little bit easier for you. Or you just want to go full on crazy and try your luck.
Yeah, generally I really like this world map. Like the track design and everything, it's fantastic. Like you have such wide roads with long corners. Very speed-based.
The wide roads allow for really intense racing lines. That is why I really enjoy racing through the city, because it is actually quite narrow, everything, but you do have the sidewalk to use, so you can avoid traffic while getting an even better racing line. So you end up being... Yeah, that actually did not work at all.
Good one, Kuru.
The game didn't crash, right?
Yeah, well, at least that.
At the very least, one of the events was definitely lap glitched. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna pay double and triple attention on the next lap glitch. I'm already looking forward to look at the VOD and see exactly what a lap glitch, because I did perform the lap glitch, I just don't know which events I actually hit. One thing that might have happened, I might have switched knockout races with the circuits. That could have gone wrong. Alright, but now, let's go to the boss. Building the hype, let's go Tess. So, that is the car that we were talking about earlier, that I cannot stand. I mean, I let you be the judge of his style. But that color combination is just not for me, man. I think that brown in general, independent of the rest of the car, is a pretty hard sell.
Not brown, Kuru, it's gold.
Is it now?
It's just not shiny enough.
They forgot to render the sparkle effects. You know, during the night all cats are black. But this car, in any lighting, is always ugly.
I gotta agree with Kuro on that one. It's not looking nice compared to that purple.
Nothing beats ESA purple. I gotta say, the car did remind me of the Twitch livery that we used to have for our Golf. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, definitely remember. That one's ancient, actually.
Yeah, it's super ancient. That was like back in 2017 when I started streaming and speedrunning. I was also doing some fun runs where you basically use modded cars, or maybe not modded, but let's say fully upgraded cars, visually and performance-wise, and then you play the entire game. We call them the Junkman runs. Why Junkman? Because Junkmans are those specialized performance parts that you can only put one into your car, which are working additionally to your regular upgrades, and make your car into a beast. We're gonna make use of that mechanic today as well, to get as much performance out of our car as we can.
Yeah, the new route also utilized the Junkmans way more. Like in the old route, for example, you didn't get the Junkman engine, as far as I knew.
Exactly, yeah.
And that thing is insane.
Yeah, especially you get to combine the Junkman engine with the Junkman transmission, which both boost your acceleration, which will allow us to use higher end gearboxes. You basically need to be fast enough to power through those gearboxes. They're longer, which means they accelerate slower, unless you have the necessary power. But that also means if you do have a longer gearbox, you do get to use higher top speeds.
Yeah, and that's precisely why later on in the run we wanna, like when we did the tuning earlier, if you remember, we had tuning, no, was it handling to -1. We're gonna put that to +1 at some point because the Golf just becomes so fast, it doesn't have enough grip to go through all the corners.
Oh yeah, you're gonna notice an immense increase in understeering. Simply because we are front wheel driven on this car, as well as it being very, very fast, and you're just gonna have to slow down somehow before you go into the corner. But one thing I really like about this game's physics is that very often just using your engine brakes or just lifting off the gas is gonna be enough to get a really nice and fast line through the corners. So this is definitely, you know, more beginner friendly when you look into like a Simcade setting where you still have like realistic handling but with really strong grip. And also, since you don't have to use the brakes too much, to be honest, you could play the entire game without brakes if you wanted to. You could even not use the speed breaker, but I would not recommend that because it's very, very helpful against the cops. Not 100% needed against in races. It's beneficial there sometimes. But against the cops, it's very important.
While you're racing Taz here, we got the Unpunished coming in with another $5 saying, Brown, it's Sunburst Orange. Hope anybody in the chat gets that reference.
Alright, this is where you're gonna see the first boss skip. Very simply, you just click the continue button on the very right and you skip one of the bosses. We do believe that's a leftover from the developers. And this is where we're gonna pick up as Junkman part, the suspension. This is gonna help us quite a bit, but we're gonna skip the tuning entirely for this chapter because we don't really have too many upgrades available. To be honest, in this chapter it's not even worth doing the upgrades, so we're just gonna skip it here and go straight back into the speed traps that we're gonna need to unlock easy. But yeah, for everyone that missed that reference, check out. It was Top Gear, right?
Yeah, it was Top Gear.
I don't want to be wrong about
I had to
one,
think too, but I'm pretty sure it's Top Gear.
I'm pretty sure they were just making fun of him for a brown car, and he was like, "No, it's Sunburst Orange."
It was brown though.
It was brown. I remember. You know what I found to be quite funny, and that is why the Golf is better, was also in Top Gear. But I couldn't tell you for the life of me if it was like just subconscious in my mind, and that's why I said it in the first place, or it just, you know, happened that we just both said the same thing.
Interesting.
So this was definitely the Omega lap glitch. The lap number is at 1 and I was at the card selection. There is no way that went wrong. So here's another trick. We're gonna try to force the cops to spawn. You do that by selecting the event from the safe house. It only works doing it like this. Because if you started from, let's say here from the world map, it is randomized if and when you find the cops. But if you do start the event from the safe house, the cops are gonna spawn, or at least they're gonna call in at the 37-second mark. And the earlier they call in, the more likely it is that you're gonna encounter them during the race. And yeah, as we said earlier, we do want that. We do want to have the cops finding us during the race, build up our heat level early, and get more cops at the end of the race. And now we're gonna see how much it changes the run that we had to repaint our car. Because we basically sacrificed... I'm not sure if all of it went away.
Yeah,
No,
it was all of it.
Was it all of it?
I mean,
Okay.
the amount of heat you currently have is usually the amount of heat you have at the end of Sonny Roundabout.
Yeah, so it would be like 2 bars, right? So we lost, I'd say 40% from the color change and the spoiler. Like any kind of visual customization is going to reduce your heat level. That is a feature of the game. You know, basically, if you make your car look different, the cops can look for a different car. Obviously, if they're looking for a purple car and yours is red, you're gonna be a lot more under the radar.
I mean, it makes sense, right? Car looks practically the same, license plate is the same, but it's purple now.
Then
we
again,
don't know what it
every
is.
car in this game has the same license plate.
Yeah, true.
It's a bit problematic. I don't want to be a cop in the city. Sir, isn't this your license plate? We saw you speeding. But you had a different car. Would you care to explain? Alright, so this worked this time, and we got the cops. And we're gonna do the rest of the chase here. This is gonna be our last race where we're gonna have to deal with the super slow and boring Condition 1 cops. What do you want to say?
Good question. What did I want to say? Shit. Regarding the license plates, with the Need for Speed's Most Wanted modding scene kind of growing and growing, the license plate customization has actually been restored recently. Like, that was actually supposed to be a feature in the game. And yeah, it's now possible to modify your license plates.
Wow, I have not heard about that.
Yep.
So our goal here was to take out 3 cops as fast as possible because we want that backup timer rolling. At the same time, I do want another cop. Oh, there he is. I hope we get to see him before the cooldown is over, but I think we're good. Okay. No buggy cops this time. This is a nice relief because what happens very often if you find cops during a race is that they can bug out where they will just grind on the wall indefinitely until either they break your car or you lose them. I'm fairly certain we're gonna see that at least one time in today's run.
Kuru, not the roundabout. Kuru, please, I beg you, don't.
Okay, this is how you do the roundabout. Go very, very slowly, so the cops have plenty of time to know where your car is, and they can follow you. If I would have done it at full speed, they would have been both stuck. One of them would have gone to the left, one of them would have gone into the middle, and they both would have lost me.
Yeah, it's super crucial that you don't lose the cops, especially when you have backup active. Like, you see that backup timer down below. If you lose the cops, that backup timer basically resets to, I think at the moment it's at 3 minutes.
3 minutes for condition 1,
yeah,
2 minutes for condition 2, I think then it's 90 seconds. 1
I think
minute.
90 seconds is, yeah.
I'm not sure about the last levels, but definitely no, it's 3 minutes at 1.
Is the least amount.
Yeah.
But yeah, you really don't want that to go away because you really want those cops so you can wreck them and build up your bounty.
Yeah, what we're doing here is basically make sure that the backup spawns at condition 2. Because at condition 2, not only do you get 5 cops in the backup, but 10. And those are the condition 2 cops, which are worth twice as much bounty as the condition 1 cops. So you get twice the bounty with twice the cops, so you get 4 times the bounty. As you see where this is going, that is very necessary to get enough bounty. Because we are skipping chapters, basically means we do have to create the bounty of 2 chapters at once. Luckily, we do get to complete all of the milestones from all the chapters, even the ones that we skipped. So that is helping, but still, at the end of the day, it is all about making sure that we do have enough bounty and we can progress here. I don't know about you, but after 16 years I still thoroughly enjoy the cop chase music.
Yeah, it holds up really well, honestly. Like, there's just so much production quality that went into the music in general. Yeah. Like, not just the chase music, but also everything else.
Yeah, I recently had a talk with some of the actors and developers, and they talked about like how much time they spent on just creating that that intense feeling during a chase. And you really do feel it. When you play this game, either if it's for the first or for the 100th time, you're still gonna get the same intense feeling. You might be better at taking out the cops, but you still feel that immersion.
Yeah, especially because the cool thing about the chase music is that it's dynamic, so it actually adjusts whether you're, if you're just about to get busted, the drums start kicking in. If you're just about to evade, it starts to slow down. Like, it's very dynamic, and that is, especially for the time, pretty insane feat.
Yeah. I mean, just the chase music being turned on the moment you're in a chase, like instantly, like boom, now you're chased, now you're hunted.
Yeah, it gets you in the mood. Sure.
It's so good. It sets the mood, okay, this is serious now.
Yeah.
So far, it was fun and games racing, and now that's about survival. Because it really does feel like survival. You're gonna get busted. You're gonna be taken out if you mess up. So our goal for this chase is around 20,000 bounty. What is quite incredible, I did find 2 roadblocks. And on combo too. So we got a really, really nice amount of bounty here. Can we flip him? No. So there are 4 cops left in the chase. I see 3, so there's gonna be 1 more. Probably spawning ahead of us. I was really hoping for that kill there. So, and this is my favorite escape in the game. It is a very, very reliable escape route because the cops have a hard time following you in here. And even when a chopper is on you later, you will be able to break the line of sight and escape here as well.
Cover unit heading up to the pursuit call. Be advised.
So, that's that. Done with the chase. We have plenty of bounty. I think we actually have so much bounty I can skip one of the speed traps, but I will have to do the one after this race. There's another one of the optimizations that has been made is basically finding as many speed traps at the end of an event. So you can basically take all the speed that you have already and just convert it into one of the speed traps that you have to do anyways.
Talking about music, I will say I also really enjoy the licensed soundtrack in this one. I think Need for Speed is kind of known and famous for, you know, the good music that it had, at least back in the day. I actually feel like the music has kind of gotten worse, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're not the only one. I mean, just my own personal opinion, just the people that come into the chat all the time, they do have a very, very similar opinion about that. It is really about capturing what the game feels like and then finding a fitting soundtrack rather than just using what is available at the moment, because I think that is kind of happening very often, that they just do whatever's available right now and it's gonna be good enough. Like you don't get the same feeling anymore. And to be honest, I don't think it's just nostalgia, because there's plenty of new games where I thoroughly enjoy the soundtrack and I'm not like, ah man, the soundtrack was better 10 years ago, right? No. It's really that those particular soundtracks of some games are just not that good. And especially not as good as they were during the black box era.
Yeah, I think the art of making a good video game soundtrack really relies in making something that fits to the vibe of the game, but also fits to what kind of genre it is. Like the reason why Most Wanted's music was so good, because it was so gritty, which, you know, fit really well to the game's atmosphere. But it was still music that was basically made for racing, with like lots of metal and fast songs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do understand the notion that they do want to include some more modern music for younger audiences. But I think they know from their own sale numbers that the young audiences are not really going
They're all busy playing
for
Fortnite.
these games anymore.
Pretty much. Yeah, I think the problem mainly with Heat's music was it fit to the atmosphere, but didn't feel like it was music for a racing game. Like it was mainly like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it just didn't feel like racing.
Yeah, it felt like modern music,
yeah.
But not necessarily, you know, tailored to the game. Obviously, there were a few examples in there, a few exceptions that were really good and that I enjoyed, and it's you basically end up like listening to the same 5 songs
yeah,
over and over again, and you're looking for the skip button when any other song comes on.
Dude, I just remembered, like when Heat came out, one thing that I did, because I actually didn't like the music at all right from the get-go, on Spotify I made like 2 separate playlists, because in Heat you can basically like race at day and race at night, and you can switch between those 2. So I did like one playlist with like day music, which was mainly from Most Wanted and Pro Street, and then another one for the nighttime racing from Carbon and Underground.
That's nice. That kind of reminds me of what Carbon did in general, where depending on what car you were driving, you had a certain soundtrack.
Yeah, that
which
was
I
really
didn't
cool.
know for the longest time, because I was always using an exotic, and I did not hear most of the game's music, because I was always using a certain type of car class.
I mean, the problem, well, quote-unquote problem with Carbon in general was that in the races you have this orchestral music, which is really good, admittedly, but you don't really hear the licensed soundtrack too much.
Alright, and the last 30,000 bounty are gonna come from a quick escape. We're always gonna perform it like this, where we spawn next here to the police station. Did it? Okay. We drive through, we take it out, and then we immediately escape. So you basically have like a drive-through here. Through the cops and back into your hideout. So that creates about 30,000 bounty. Then we do get to lap glitch once again. So sometimes you have to lap glitch twice in a chapter, because sometimes you unlock the race that needs to be glitched right at the moment where you unlock the boss. So you have to go back out again just to do that one lap glitch, and then you can run into the boss. So Easy's up next. I personally really like her RX-8. That's one of the Blacklist cars I definitely enjoyed more.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, this cutscene loves to bug out, where a car just jumps all over the place. Reminds me of some of the mods that we played that mess with some in-game values, which break these cutscenes, and make for some very hilarious cutscenes where the cars just fly all over the place and do things you would not expect. Okay, that was good. You want to go as far as possible outside there to get quickly around the corner, but also it's always going to be very close to her. And yeah, with this new route, she is, in my opinion, actually the toughest Blacklist member to beat. She rubber bands quite a lot, and she does get very close to you. Very often, especially towards the finish line.
Well, while we're racing down here, we got a few more donations coming in for you.
Yes.
We got another $5 donation from the Unpunished that's saying, well, maybe Black Box thought that the turbo gets you that gas mileage for extra long pursuits. Hold on. The fuel is infinite. And we also got a $5 donation from Head Dragon that says, you're welcome for the purple and good luck on the run. Indeed, thank you, Head Dragon. You definitely helped get that purple train going there. And finally, we got a $5 donation from the Poet 101 that says, you have awoken my curiosity. Bad puns are part of my character. Good luck with the rubber bands. And those terrible puns. Oh yeah, keep them coming in, folks. Remember, all donations are heading to Alzheimer's Fund. Please keep them coming in, and don't forget to put them to our upcoming donation incentives. We do have that Final Fantasy VII Remake Stairs incentive, and of course that bonus Big John run as well. The wacky, wonderful world of miniature golf.
Oh man, character that hurt.
Yeah,
That one hurt physically, yeah.
I'm gonna need a few bosses until I have digested that one. So Easy wiped out. I don't think I've ever seen her wipe out that early in this race. Like, she's already 1.6 kilometers behind us. So much for Easy being difficult. Although you will see now the intense rubber band at work. Like, she already caught up 100 meters somehow. 200 meters. 300 meters. Let's see how close she's gonna get at the end. I think she kind of stopped. At the very least, we're not gonna have any trouble with her.
Maybe you poked the oil tank like Razor did with your BMW. She's like, damn it.
It looks more like a steel rod in the steering or something. Like she couldn't turn, just straight into the wall. Or maybe the jealous boyfriend cut the brake lines.
Ah, the undercover references, please.
Alright, next boss skip. Once again, you need to hit the continue button on the very right, and you skip one of the bosses. Biggest time saver in the entire run. Like any percent, it used to be like around 7 hours, and then we cut off 3.5 just by skipping half of the bosses. So yeah, and since we did skip the tuning earlier, we now get to tune our car for 2 chapters at once. So this is our first junction here, the one that we picked up earlier. Then a bunch of upgrades here. Engine, suspension, nitrous, and tires. Starter tires are super cheap, just 1k. And yeah, for ordering, in this chapter we're gonna do the cop chase first. Because we don't have to do any... Actually, it's not true, we do have to do one lap glitch. But since the menu is already set on the chase, and we can't, that's what I want to say, can't start the chase from an event, we do it right here. This is where the cop chases get better, but to be honest, like really good, they start being at condition 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2 are really very easy cops, not difficult whatsoever. And I guess they do give you a nice introduction to the cop system. But if you play the game more than 2 hours, you start noticing how redundant condition 1 and 2 cops are, and you wish you could just start at 3. At least that's one of my experiences that I made playing this game, when I got busted and I got reset to level 1 in heat, or had a new car which was at heat level 1, or I tuned the car and it got back to heat level 1, that you have to work through those early cops that are just not really doing anything. This is where one of the first RNG moments also comes into play. We need 2 roadblocks, but the roadblock spawning chance is literally 10%. So every position on the map that could spawn a roadblock, if you drive past it, you have a 10% chance of spawning a roadblock. And we need 2. And that's very important. It gives us 30,000 bounty. We do need that. You need to get very lucky to get enough bounty without that. And I'd say in 9 out of 10 runs, you would need the roadblocks to have enough bounty.
Yeah, and some of you might be asking, why is he saying 2 roadblocks when it says 4 roadblocks up there? Well, you can still get milestones from previous bosses and chapters. And that 2 roadblock milestone is from a previous one. However, if Kuru manages to get 4, that's a really good time save, because he essentially has even more bounty than he needs.
Yeah, not just that, I get to skip one of the speed traps, because at the end of the day, for every chapter, you need a certain amount of milestones. So if I do get the 4 roadblocks, oh, there's a roadblock. No. You don't want to be slowed down too much as you turn around, or the roadblock will despawn. But yeah, you don't even need to hit it directly, just in a parallel fashion will be good enough. Man, they brought half of the gas station with them. Convenient. So yeah, already getting 1 in condition 2 is fine, because then the chances are pretty good that either we're gonna find another one right now, or we're gonna get 1 during condition 3.
And yeah, spawning roadblocks is really tricky. Like, there isn't really a whole lot you can do. Like, there's some... Like, we thought maybe if you're just about to get busted, the game kind of spawns a roadblock, or if you're just about to evade, the game spawns another one, but really... Probably placebo.
It is still not very consistent.
Yeah.
One thing the game loves to do, if you take out the last cop, it does spawn another cop in your driving direction. For the most part, sometimes the roads are so close to each other that they skip the lane and they're basically on the other side, and then it doesn't really help you. But most of the time the game tends to spawn the cops in your direction of driving. So if you take out the last cop, you usually find one just going straight. So a similar strategy as we had before, we're trying to get the backup the moment we hit the next heat level. And optimally, we will find the roadblock right now, because then we already have the minimum requirement for the chase. Finding for roadblocks, usually you're gonna already have to find 2 roadblocks in condition 2 and then 2 more in condition 3. Obviously if you find 3 in condition 2, that's a unicorn. It doesn't really happen very often, but you do get to see it from time to time. And then finding the last one during condition 3 is a lot easier, because the chance doubles. I think it's up at 20% spawning rate, or 25. Nonetheless, it is. Oh yeah, I don't want to go.
Yeah, I was just about to say, don't
want to go to
don't go
the
to baseball
stadium.
stadium.
As I mentioned earlier, if you spawn a roadblock next to the stadium, the game has the tendency to just straight up crash, and we want to avoid that at any cost. Maybe I get to... Nah. Oh, actually... I was really hoping the rhinos were close enough.
That would have been nice.
That would have been super nice. But we do have a second roadblock here.
Yeah, getting as many rhinos as possible is super crucial for the run, because that's really one of a massive source for bounty, honestly.
Oh yeah,
Especially if you can get
they
them
are
in a combo.
extremely valuable. Like, these cops are worth 2,500 apiece, so while a rhino is 10,000, so 4 times as much.
Yep. And if you can take them out in a combo, you can triple that amount, and that's... If you can get a lot of them, that's quite substantial, honestly.
Because sometimes you do get those rolling blocks coming from the front, and they consist of 2 rhinos, and if you somehow manage to get them into a pursuit breaker, you're usually in a pretty good spot. So, since I still need more bounty, I'm definitely gonna take out some extra cops here. And hey, if we're lucky, we do find the 4th roadblock on our escape. Also, I want to be careful not to get stuck on a flipped cop. When you start surfing on the cops themselves, you might find yourself in a pretty bad spot. So yeah, this is basically the point where the game could spawn us. Nice, took them all out. Another roadblock. That doesn't look that way. Alright, escaping right now. It's not really worth it whatsoever trying to find that last roadblock to get the milestone, because the other milestone that we can do is a speed trap, which is done in about 10 seconds. And I can guarantee, if you try to find the 4th roadblock, it's gonna take you a lot longer than 10 seconds. And I'm gonna do it right here, right now, so I don't forget about it. At the end of this event, if we do keep ourselves a little bit of nitrous, it's quite easy to pick up the speed trap. See, sometimes I just want to use the speed breaker, not necessarily to be fast around the corner, but just not to crash into the opponents. The extra handling allows you to do that, and with the slow motion, you get plenty of time to adjust your car in a way where you don't lose speed and you evade the crash.
So I'm not sure if this is the Speedtrap event that can be really easy to lose, but there's definitely one of them.
It's not this one. It's definitely another one.
Well,
On this one, actually, you usually finish before they even get to
oh yeah, I see.
the last speed trap, so they straight up miss out on an entire speed trap and they have like no chance of winning. But yeah, later on there's gonna be some speed trap events that are easy to lose. So 225 is the goal here. Beat that pretty convincingly. Now I'm gonna do the lap glitch for the chapter, which is gonna be knockout number 6. Bayshore. Double and triple checking. Still curious what happened in the previous chapter. So this is one of the few events, like directly after lap glitch, you're gonna see in the right upper corner it actually does say lap 1 out of 1. But it's really only the first event after you lap glitched, and only if it is a circuit or knockout race. Otherwise the game will display the regular lap counter. And it does lead to a lot of confusion. A lot of newer viewers, they see like, oh my god, it doesn't say 1 out of 1, you forgot the lap glitch. Simply because the game doesn't really show it very often. It shows it sometimes. But afterwards, like on the next race, it's gonna show the regular lap count, although it will finish after the first one. But hey, you mentioned the Speedtrap events earlier. Those are literally the only events that you really can lose. Reason being, the opponents, they do rubber band, which means they try to catch up to you. And as they catch up to you, they basically get artificially accelerated way beyond their car's abilities, and then hit the speed trap with much higher speeds than you did. So the only way for you to win these events sometimes is to finish so early to get a penalty. Every second you finish in front of them, they will lose 10 kilometers per hour on their score. And that's the only way that you can still win, being ahead with a lower score. But yeah, sometimes you have that mix of, you know, maybe you crash right before speed traps, you have a really low value, and they still keep rubber banding to catch up to you. And then although you finish in first, they still have a higher value than you, and you're gonna lose the event.
And yeah, you will see Kuru doing a whole lot of races, but a majority of the time save in the run actually comes from the cop chases. Because there's not really much you can do in the races except drive well, pretty much. However, if you get lucky with the cops, you know, and everything just kind of works out and the planets all align, that's where you can actually get the most amount of time save.
That is true. Like, once you figure out how to do the events quickly, you're gonna stagnate on the time you can save on races. That's gonna be like your first few months of speedrunning this. You're just gonna learn how to control the car and how to be quick on the events. And then the real optimization starts how you manage the cops. But also a lot of luck is involved with the cops. There are certain patterns that will save you huge amounts of time. For example, we mentioned the rhinos earlier, giving you 4 times as much bounty. You could get those consistently in a roadblock, so you have the potential to get way more bounty, and that extra bounty will allow you to do the cops later on differently to save you even more time. And that is something we cannot control for now. Maybe we'll find something in the future, but for now we can't control what and where and how many roadblocks will spawn. And you're gonna have a lot of resets speedrunning this simply because the cops just didn't do whatsoever what they needed to do. And yeah, in direct comparison to the routes that we ran 2 years ago at ESA, the route itself is a lot more RNG heavy now regarding the cops. They are very optimized now, but it's also more risky strategies in general. Do save a huge amount of time, but you do have less backup strategies. So basically you always need to get that one particular strategy, and if the cops don't play along with that strategy, you're gonna lose minutes. And then, once again, you gotta reset on your hands and you try again. Alright. 1 or 2 events left, let's see. Just one. The Baron itself, we're not gonna have to do any more lap glitches, just gonna jump straight into it. And we're gonna see my favorite car, with the exception of the M3 GTR that we had in the beginning. I was told many times that that car doesn't count, because everyone picks it, so I have to pick another one. Wait, you told me earlier what your most hated car is. Did you mention what your favorite car is? The Golf, right?
Yeah, the Golf. I think if I say anything but Golf, I'm gonna lose my job.
I might need to get myself a new editor.
Nah, but I mean, do you mean car in the game or favorite blacklist car?
Nah, I would say in the game. Yeah.
I actually don't have the full car list in mind.
Okay.
But one thing that's interesting is they actually
it's like 60
out...
cars or so. Most of them.
Well, a bit less than that.
Actually, no, it's not that many. It's like
37, at least from the cars you can buy in dealership.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it would have been my favorite car of all time, the Nissan 350Z. However, they actually took out a lot of cars because they somehow couldn't get the licensing, for example.
The Skyline was one of them.
Yeah, like they actually had a lot of Nissan cars planned, but they just couldn't make the cut for some reason. They are still in the game files though.
Yeah, there's so much stuff in the game files that didn't make it into the final release. Like, they plan to have heat levels all the way up to 10. And like all the voiceover files for these different conditions, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, as well as different areas like the airport and a certain weaponry and so many other things. You can find it on YouTube if you look like deleted, most wanted audio files or something.
And I will say I like Baron's Porsche, but there's one thing that's pretty ricey about it.
The roof scoop?
No, painted on bolts.
Oh. Paint on Bolt Wonder Boy. Then again, is it really painted on if you look at his body kit? You know, it might just be a bad graphic.
No, it is actually part of the livery.
As I said, you know, it is painted on, but what if, you know, it was supposed to be the body kit itself? Then again, it would have been a body kit exclusive to his car.
Yeah.
Because none of the other body kits, as far as I know, have bolts.
Nah, like it wasn't as much of a trend back then as it is nowadays with the, you know, with the bolted-on body kits. But yeah.
I guess it depends on the car too.
Oh yeah, for sure. But now, like earlier, we were also talking about stuff in the game files. One thing that's especially interesting is the cop speech files, which is basically all the cops all the calls the cops give during a race, and you can hear them. Like there's lines for every single car that you could be driving, so they're like, suspect is driving a pink Golf or whatever. And some of the files mention Paganis and I think also Ferraris, but I'm not too sure. And that just gives you a bit of an idea how much they actually had planned. But, you know, at the time when Need for Speeds were made, you know, they were all made by Black Box and they were on a one-year release schedule, which is not a lot of time to make a racing game.
Yeah, I don't think they can ever go back to that kind of timeline unless the game is very similar to the previous year. You know, if it's a game like, let's say, Formula 1, where the releases are very similar to each other, or FIFA, where the releases are very similar to each other, then I guess a studio can bring out a game every year. But if you want to be creative and get a few more different things going, you're definitely gonna have at least 2 years of development.
Yeah, I think it's also just important to let developers breathe a little bit so they can actually come up with creative ideas. But yeah, recently, for anyone that hasn't heard the news, EA has actually acquired Codemasters, which should be definitely interesting for the future of Need for Speed.
I mean, it's easy to be negative about it and say, you know, all the negative things that could happen. I'm actually more on the positive side in that regard, because I see like a lot of funds combined with a lot of talented developers. So I do think that at the end of the day, we are going to get better games out of this. Both for the Codemaster franchises, but also for the EA racing franchise of Need for Speed. So I do very much hope so that this, at the end of the day, is going to bring us better games. Alright, so that's Baron, the race, and the drag race, both done. Once again, pause skip, hit the continue button on the right. And sadly, our boy Earl will not see the light of day.
You will be missed.
He will.
And
be
your
missed.
rubber band will be. Your rubber band will not be missed, actually.
Well, he may not be making it in the run, but he's going to make his name in a donation here, because Scope933 has a $5 donation that says, "Hey, Scope here. Remember, Kuru, Rubber Band Earl will overtake you in the race in the last 100 meters." No, he won't, because we don't get to see him. Oh.
Sadly not this time. But yeah, that's like one of the route changes. We do miss out on some of the OG memes that we had in the old route, and like the bosses that used to beat us because of Rubber Band, where they accelerate to such a ridiculous amount that you just have no chance of winning anymore. So back to the races. We're gonna try to force the cops here, so I did start the event after the lap glitch from the safe house. Cops are gonna call at the 37-second mark. And then we're gonna try to get as many involved as we can. And yeah, this is where the cops starts to be really fun. Condition 3, 4, 5 is where you get good amounts of cops, roadblocks, and just generally more excitement. You know, in regards to time saves during a race, it is really mostly not hitting the traffic car. Just hitting a single traffic car adds so much time to the overall run that, or just hitting the cop here. I mean, here was kind of fine, I needed to slow down for this corner, but generally hitting traffic, it slows you down so much that even the best driving, you basically have to drive 5 other races perfectly just to get those 5 seconds back. That's my opinion, like the difference between a perfect race and a, let's say, more chill race where you just drive nicely but not perfectly. It's actually just 1 second at the end of the timer.
Yeah, the main thing about that being that the traffic is completely randomized. Like, there isn't a set pattern for the traffic that drives in each event, which can be really problematic because there is a few blind corners in this game for sure. And if you take those corners and then there's like a big fat truck that's saying hello, then yeah, you will be stopped dead in your tracks, and that is obviously a huge time loss.
One exception are the drag races. Those are the only events where the traffic is actually consistent. And not just consistent for a certain run, but consistent in general. It's always the same traffic pattern for that event.
Yeah, true. Drag races are completely scripted when it comes to traffic, so you know exactly where the cars are if a truck's coming from the side, and you can, you know, get some muscle memory going on for each and every drag race.
Whoa. Love the cops tumbling down the hospital here. Hey, we got one of them. One of them actually made it. And the second one waiting for us at the finish line. So, oops, we gotta do a little bit more here. You can see on the minimap that one of the cops is just not turning around and following us. That is our first buggy cop. And this happens sometimes when you find the cops doing a race. And that's actually independent if you found the cops naturally or you force them with the trick from the safe house. Yeah, like 2 of them. Actually, he recovered. He actually turned around. That guy, on the other hand, does not want to play along.
Well, this is really where the cop chases start to become interesting, because the Condition 3 cops are actually competent at following you, and, you know, there's also quite a decent amount, so...
Exactly, they're quicker, and there are more of them, so that makes them exponentially more threatening than the ones before them.
Yeah. So in a run, this not only becomes more consistent, but I would argue also more fun.
Yeah,
because you don't
absolutely.
have to babysit the cops anymore, and you don't have to drive slow, but you can actually just, you know...
This was one of the rare cases where the cop actually spawned not in my direction of driving.
I will say that happens quite often at this spot, though.
Does it?
Yeah, I mean, I edit your videos, so I would know.
I guess so, I guess so.
But it
I mean,
happens very often.
you do have some blind spots even as a speedrunner. There are things that, you know, notice more than others. That's why it's always good to have someone checking out what you do. So maybe. Okay, we got the trade paints, but no kills. What I try to do when I see the rhinos coming from your front is hitting them on the front, on the side, to turn the first car, and then the second car rams into it and hopefully flips it over too. That's usually what I'm going for. Oh yeah, what's super fun about this chapter, you're supposed to, like, one of the milestones is get spikes, but spikes is condition 4 only, so you would actually have to play all the way until condition 4 to get that milestone, which is obviously not worth it. You're gonna get enough bounty way before you hit condition 4. So right now, during the backup, got 40 seconds left, I'm really just trying to get roadblocks. The more we get, the better. For a chance of extra kills and extra bounty, but also doing some of the milestones from previous chapters. Oh yeah, I love when they do that. So he just took a shortcut, which can end up with him getting stuck somewhere, and then he breaks the line of sight. You want those backups, you want the maximum amount of cops, and as quickly as possible. It's the only thing that guarantees you quick, consistent amount of bounty.
I do wonder if kind of like resetting the backup was intended by the developers, because in the next entry, in Need for Speed Carbon, if you break the line of sight, when backup is active, the backup there doesn't actually reset like in this game. Like, it actually continues where I left off if you find another cop.
Interesting. I honestly did not know that.
Yeah.
That kind of shows like how much I didn't really spend that much time in Carbon as compared to Most Wanted. Like, mostly because the cops were not really relevant in Carbon that much, other than the challenge series. In the
Right.
career mode, you never needed to create milestones, create bounty. You weren't needed to become the Most Wanted. And to be honest, I actually didn't know that detail. It's very interesting.
Yeah, that makes me, that's why, you know, I'm wondering, was that actually intended, that the backup resets? Maybe, you know, eventually when they released that game, they were kind of like, yeah, this is kind of bad, let's, you know, make it so that the timer continues.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some, like, they just took the feedback of the community, things they liked, things that they didn't like. Because while a lot of people did like Most Wanted and their cops, I also remember a lot of critique regarding the cops, that they were like either too difficult or actually too much. And I think that was the major reason why they didn't have such an important role in the next game. See, that's what I mean. Like, once again, the cop spawns, I don't know where. Somewhere in the middle. But we did find one of the roadblocks. The trade paints shouldn't be too difficult to hit. Yeah, just one more. I'm more interested in the amount of roadblocks. I think that is number 4, but I'm not sure this is actually gonna count. We're gonna see. I don't think it did. Because usually when you trigger a pass on a roadblock... Actually, yeah, never mind. You would have seen it if it was one of the active milestones, but it wasn't an active milestone. I was looking at the spike counter. So it might have counted. We're gonna notice if we find some more. But yeah, we're actually quite low on bounty, so usually I would escape here after the 6-minute mark, but I think we're gonna incorporate one more backup. That's like the secondary reason you want to have as many roadblocks as possible. You just need that extra... You need that extra amount of bounty. Oh yeah, what you see there is like the cars getting invisible from time to time because the game has a problem with memory allocation. So very often the game runs out of memory and it can't even display the textures of some cars anymore. So you're gonna see invisible cops, invisible traffic, that kind of stuff. I think I'm just gonna stay close to here where we have 3 pursuit breakers and then we're gonna run away. Very noticeable how much lower the bounty was this time. Oh, I actually did get a triple kill there, so if I now take out the last cop... Thank you. Appreciate it. And once you take out the roadblock completely, the game can spawn the next one. Otherwise, you have to outrun the roadblock for it to despawn, and then the game can spawn the next one. But you can basically take away the work, taking out the entire roadblock, and then the game can spawn the next one. But that's usually something you want to aim for. See me. So this looks pretty good regarding bounty here. Actually don't think it's worth going for the roadblock, since it's not one of the active milestones. And we will do it at a later point anyways. But yeah, that's gonna be enough bounty now. But yeah, this was a perfect example of how RNG has a strong effect on the game, where we didn't get enough roadblocks. And that is, you know, once again, gonna heavily influence how many milestones we complete and how much bounty we get from those milestones. So there I had to do a longer chase, like, once again, like 2 minutes longer than a world record attempt would have. And, you know, at that point it wouldn't be world record material anymore. That's just, you know, how brutal the RNG is in the new route. When marathon strats come into play, and we're definitely gonna go for like one more backup, a few more cops, and have enough bounty. The only alternative to that would have been to do a crap ton of extra speed traps, and to be honest, I don't think it would have been enough. I think it would have still ended up having to do a secondary chase for the missing bounty after we've done a lot of speed traps. And yeah, the speed traps, they don't create as much bounty per time than a cop chase, so that is where the optimization comes in again. there's two ways how I can get the missing bounty here. Either I do a speed trap at the end of an event, which I will do, because it's the fastest way. Or I could do a quick escape like I did earlier, and complete a milestone from a previous chapter. But if I don't do it now, I'll do it later in combination with another chapter that also requires a quick escape, and that is, you know, more efficient and faster. Freshly refueled. would be kind of interesting though, like a little mechanic, you know, if you crash through the gas station, like a NOS gets refilled.
Oh yeah, for
That
sure.
would have been kind of nice.
Yeah, generally,
At that point,
like
I
that.
think we might even like incorporate it to just get a tiny little bit faster, right?
I mean, Flatout has that, right? When you wreck stuff and you break certain smackables,
True.
like you actually recharge your NOS.
Yeah. But I wonder if they, you know, that was too far of reality for the developers. That's something that's one way I could see it. If you have like a similar mechanic where if you break stuff, you get NOS back. It would be an interesting risk-reward mechanic though. Just how much can you crash and what can you crash in order to get NOS at the cost of, you know, getting slowed down when you hit something.
I mean, in my opinion, I think it would have made the game more interactive. I mean, Underground 2 had this mechanic where you don't actually recharge your NOS like in this game, where it's, you know, it just charges up over time as long as you're fast enough.
Yeah.
But you actually have to, you know, do near misses with the traffic, you have to do drifting, and only that really recharges your NOS. And I think having a mix of all, where you slowly recharge a little bit of NOS, but then you need to do near misses, maybe even destroy certain objects, and that kind of refills your NOS. I think a mix of that would have been really good.
Yeah, I totally agree. While I do enjoy the mechanic of the auto recharge, because it allows you to take the racing line most of the time, because you're not forced into the oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I have beef with, because if you're forced into the oncoming traffic lane, it kind of ruins your racing line. But everything else, like getting close to traffic or drifting, drafting, to gain extra NOS is in Underground 2 like super nice. Just to get, you know, the little extra edge and you get a little bit more to do while you're playing.
Yeah, sure. I think that's in part what made the Burnout game so fun, right? Where you only get NOS back, and you know, you need NOS if you want to be really fast. If you destroy opponents, if you do certain things.
Yeah.
However, Burnout is a bit of a different game than most wanted, so...
For sure. Alright, last event here. I just did that speed trap I was talking about earlier. So I basically took the momentum that I had from the finish line and just kept driving for a little bit. And triggered the speed trap, got the missing bounty. We're actually very close to the bounty target. So it was definitely the right decision to extend the chase for an extra set of backup cops. But yeah, I can already feel like all the upgrades on the car, it's getting substantially faster, and you feel the G-forces dragging the car outside. And once we're in Ming, we have so many upgrades, we definitely have to increase our handling stat. Sacrifice some of our cornering speed. Or rather, we sacrifice some of our speed while turning to, at the end of the day, still get faster around the corner. There's no point being fast in the corner if you just hit the wall. You know, one thing I would pay money for would be like a video footage of my first playthrough.
Just getting busted over and over and over.
I'm just curious exactly how I played the game, you know? Like 2005. Christmas. I was 16 years old, right? Just would love to see how I played back then. I don't think it would have been completely awful, but you know, after so many years of speedrunning experience in this game, I would just love to see the kind of dumb stuff I did.
You played the GameCube version, didn't you?
I did play the GameCube version first, and I liked it so much that I got it again on the PC because I was like, hey man, I want better graphics too.
Although the PC version is not actually the best looking one, because they, in 2006, so 1 year later, or I think it might have been actually just half a year, but they re-released this game for the Xbox 360, and that one has like a bunch of enhancements regarding the visuals. So that one actually does look better. I mean, if you take away, you know, frame rate and resolution.
Yeah, if
But
you would
just
look
visually-
at screenshots, the 360 version does look better.
Yep.
Just
However-
because of the extra visual effects.
However, there are certain mods for the PC version that put those effects into the PC version
Yes,
of the game.
sadly they're
so-
not 100% yet though. I know exactly which ones you mean. By the way, shouts to Community Minded Miner, one of the big modders that actually did exactly that. Working on putting the 360 graphical effects into the PC version. And we did play that at some point, and you do notice quite strongly like what they did to the look of the game to make it look more HD, which made sense for the 360. And yeah, at the time, and probably still the best console version. And then, you know, it's up to your own taste if you're okay with a 30 FPS frame rate. Like, I'm still waiting for like a really well-working emulator to make sure that at least the 30 FPS are consistent. Because the other thing about consoles, yeah, they look to 30 FPS, but how consistent are they actually displaying 30 FPS? Like,
Yeah.
if there's a lot of action on the screen, you can't even hold that frame rate.
And hey, if you don't like the yellow filter of this game, 360 version has green filter. You know, that's more your thing.
True. Although that's like one thing that I absolutely need when I play the PC version. Like, turning the yellow filter off just really shows that they didn't do a really good job on the natural colors.
Yep.
Like, usually I'm a big fan of natural colors. I don't need the yellow filter. It's just that this game in particular, and a lot of games in that era, like let's say Grid, Race Driver Grid, had like they just had a better look with that yellow filter on top of them.
Yeah, but I think the yellow-brown filter was just really a plague in the mid-2000s. Like, so many
absolutely.
games had that, and I'm really not sure where it came from. My
Okay, so
conspiracy-
here's something that I heard. I'm not sure how true that is. That codecs back then made better looking videos if the image was uniform. And that was like one of the colors they used to make everything look similar.
Interesting.
Does it make sense? Because, you
Yeah.
know, how does a codec work? If there's a lot of pixels that have the same color, it's gonna save space. So the idea was to make the game look similar everywhere, so the codec has an easier time actually compressing the video file. So it looks good at a low bitrate.
But why brown, though?
I mean, I personally prefer the blue filter on carbon.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my conspiracy as to why everything is brown in a lot of mid-2000s games is that, you know, when Resident Evil 4 came out, that one had like a very monochrome look. It was basically the first game with that brown filter. And since a lot of games, you know, got really inspired by Resident Evil 4 because it kind of like revolutionized, you know, the third-person shooters and shit.
Yeah.
So they applied a lot of that, and then it just kind of became a trend for games to look that certain way.
But was Resident Evil 4 really that influential that it affected so many games of different franchises? That's the only thing that I have on my mind. As I said, you know, conspiracy theory.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was for the gameplay of third-person shooters at the time.
I just remember like Resident Evil 4 for GameCube like being praised like crazy all the time.
I mean, it was really good though.
So yeah, here during the drag race, it's fairly simple. Basically, every time you pass a car, you change the lane. If you keep that algorithm in mind, you got a fairly easy time here. still have my muscle memory here to like put a split. Like I use a foot pedal to split, and I like always press it when I hit a boss. So that was the boss skip. You might have noticed I clicked the continue button on the right, and then you skip one of the bosses. So second and much faster half of the game coming up. Once again, putting junk mans on our car. The transmission for extra acceleration. Suspension and NOS on the next chapter. So, lap glitch 11 on the knockouts. Coastal. So, this is the lap glitch. It changes the lap number to 1 and turns off the traffic for the selected events. Huge time saver. The first glitch that we actively incorporated into the run. And the one that you saw earlier was like the big discovery that cut over 3 hours of the run, the boss skip. Which is why you see us doing only half of the bosses, plus 1. Oh, sorry about that. It's a really hard time. You're gonna have a really hard time winning this event if you hit the water barrels there. They usually destroy you on the first speed trap, and then it's really hard to recover.
Yeah, generally these Speedtrap events are very dangerous because of the rubber band we talked about earlier. So, you know, as you can already see, like you need to hit the speed traps with a specific amount of speed. However, if the opponents are behind you, especially if they're really far behind you and they accelerate a lot more than they, you know, usually able to, they can get a lot more speed in those speed traps. Like you can see Kuru is already in 3rd, although he has been driving pretty much perfectly.
Yep, and that is why you still want to hit the speed traps as strongly as you can. Because every single kilometer you get right now is gonna help you at the end. Later on when we have, you know, more... Oh yeah, I remember... As I said, car is fast, handling needs to be a +1. Because I immediately felt like the extreme understeer. Just because the car is so fast and just gets carried out. So yeah, we're already, what is it, 40 kilometers behind, so it's gonna be interesting.
Close one, yeah.
The last speed trap we can really destroy. That is where we can gain the most advantage. Also, we're gonna be we are ahead of our opponents, so that's gonna be deducted from their speeds as well. But it actually does not look that bad. It's just 10 kilometers to Anderson, which is like 1 second that I have to finish in front of him. And that cop straight up ignored me. This can happen when the cop basically saw another driver first, and then he respawns somewhere else on the map. And since he's already chasing one of the other drivers, he is not gonna see me at all. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we had another cop after the race. But the thing is, the moment you hit the finish line, all the cops on the world map disappear instantly.
That I
Even if you
know.
see him.
Wow.
Even if you see him as you pass the finish line, if he didn't like already start the chase, he's gonna disappear. Like he could be right next to your car. It's like poof, and he was never there. That was always quite interesting to me, because why did the developers like think of this little detail?
I actually don't think that's mechanic. I'm pretty sure that is an oversight. That the cops just despawn.
But it's something intentional, right? Like somewhere in the code it must say, as you finish, no cops. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, why would the game despawn the cops? Right? They're already on the map. They're already in the game. But the moment you hit the finish line, it basically resets. Whatever the map looks like.
What happens when you pass the finish line is you get this screen where it transitions, and then afterwards it transitions from race to, you know, free roam basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it is intentional, it could have been because if you somehow get into the cop chase right after, like within like less than a second, after you finish the event, it could have bugged out something, and that might have been such a headache to actually patch out that they were just like, okay, let's just remove the cops afterwards. Like, let's just have them despawn immediately.
Yeah, maybe. Because
That's what I could think of.
one thing that does happen is, for example, like getting SMS on your phone. And maybe when that overlaid with a cop, the game crashed. And I say that because there is that happening where you can hit a speed trap as you get an SMS. And that once again will soft lock your game. Well, the game is still running, but your buttons don't work anymore and the interface disappears. I actually managed to pull that off 2 years ago in the ESA run.
That's probably it then, because there isn't much of a difference, because it's eventually just another event triggering. Right, if you hit a speed trap or if you engage in a cop chase, it's just another event triggering. And if those overlap, one thing I also noticed, like between you finishing the race and you receiving the SMS message, there's like a split second of just free roam happening, like nothing. And then it triggers the SMS. So what can happen, it's obviously super rare, but what can happen is if the cops didn't despawn, you could get a cop in that moment before you get the SMS message. And then what could happen is, I don't know, either the SMS message doesn't trigger at all, or it triggers during the cop chase, which is not normally supposed to happen and can essentially bug out the entire game.
Yeah, you just talked about, you know, there's a little bit of free roaming before the SMS pops up, right?
Yeah.
So if you time it perfectly, you know, if you are quick enough on your fingers or you have the right timing on hand, you can actually open up the menu and start the next event before the SMS comes in. So you can save yourself that time of clicking away the SMS. But that's pretty precise. Even if you limit the game down to 60 FPS, that is still not a thing that you get 100% of the time.
What are the differences between playing in 30 versus 60 FPS, by the way?
Sorry, what?
What are the differences between playing in 30 and 60 FPS?
Oh yeah, this game, it runs the same regardless of frame rate, like just playing the game. All the physics are the same. With one exception, the menus are frame rate dependent. And they will skip a lot of frames if you have high FPS. And if they skip the frames, it's also harder to menu because you just don't see the frames necessary, so you still end up like meshing the buttons. But it's a little bit harder because you don't see the necessary frames. So what a lot of runners are doing is like limiting the game down to 60 FPS. That also helps with this game's frame rate consistency, because if you play on more than 60 FPS, the game is not really good at delivering the frames at the same time. Although it is no problem to run the game at 100 FPS consistently, it is not that every frame gets delivered every 10 milliseconds. And it leads to the game looking a little bit choppy, although it should be extremely smooth playing on 100 FPS, which is the game's maximum FPS limit.
That's generally a really interesting topic, how games change depending on the frame rate on PC. I think the most interesting example that I can think of from recently is when last year you played a game called Tokka Race Driver 3.
Oh, yeah.
And you had the game on, I think, at least 144 FPS, or was it unlimited? I'm not actually sure. And basically what happened is you had zero grip on your cars. Like, none. You weren't even able to get around corners. It was completely unplayable. And then when you switched it to either 30 or 60, well, all of a sudden the car managed to have, well, it wasn't driving on ice.
It felt like a different game. It was a mental that actually affected the grip of the car. But another game that does that is Blur. You know, my favorite racing game does exactly the same thing, because they were originally console games which were limited to 30 FPS. It wasn't a problem on the consoles that the physics are tied to the frame rate, because the console was only running the game at 1 frame rate. But then, they put the games on the PC and they forgot about that little detail that PCs are capable of a lot more than just 30 FPS. But he still had the physics tied to the frame rate, and it just messed with so many things.
Yeah, it's especially at the time. Nowadays it's not a big issue anymore because, you know, not really a thing. But games at the time were just much more, well, they were primarily made for consoles. because you know
Yeah.
on console they just sell more. So getting those versions right is more important. And to just simplify things, they coupled a lot of things to the frame rate. One really interesting thing that I had recently is when I tried to play the first Dead Space, and well, this doesn't actually have much to do with frame rate and more with VSync, but whatever. And you need to have VSync off for the first 30 minutes of the game, because if you don't, which I did, I had VSync on. What happens is basically you get put into a room and there's supposed to come an enemy out of the door next to you. And that needs to happen so you can actually open that door afterwards. But since I had VSync on, that enemy never came, and I had to basically restart the entire game. And there was no saves, so that was just like 20 or 30 minutes wasted. It was really frustrating.
It could be worse. Like there's so many games out there that can be soft locked in similar ways, and you probably played bored in just 30 minutes. It can get really bad.
True.
But yeah, I encountered these FPS issues mostly with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 generation, because those games were notoriously limited to 30 FPS, because they were always trying to push the HD resolution, but it always came at the cost of the frame rate.
I would still like to see you... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just about to say, I would really like to see you do one of these drag races completely blindfolded.
Oh,
it should be possible.
He got me good there.
Ah, damn.
There was no space, man.
You got trucked, man.
I got trucked. That gray face left me no space. Do you actually know about that meme? One of the OG memes on Twitch?
Grey face sounds like Kappa.
Gray face, no space. Yeah, because people were asking how to make the face. It was literally the beginning on Twitch. Nobody knew how to do the Kappa face, and people like always in the chat like just type gray face and no space in between. And like the entire chat was going gray face, gray face, gray face.
Wow.
It was so good. And I was also, a newbie on Twitch at some point. Like, I fell for it. And, I was even like, dude, this is not working. How do you do it? I'm writing gray face. It's not working. Like, they got me too. But that's super OG. That's like 2011 Twitch, the very start of Twitch. Just when they switched over from Justin TV. Good times.
Good times.
So we're already at condition 4 because we did have the prolonged chase earlier. I'm just waiting for the game to give me condition 4 from somewhere. Let's hope in front of us. Yes. So this is definitely gonna be a 7-minute chase. We need that milestone, and we definitely need all the bounty that we can get here. Poor guy.
Oh.
Destroyed from the rhino. But yeah, even better if I can take out the rhinos that way. That's usually what I'm trying to go for. So very often you're gonna see me going super slowly next to the cops just so they can all, clump together. I can take them out with one speed breaker. See, like this. That's usually what I'm going for. Because that rhino, for example, was worth 45k, absolute maximum bounty. I get the front rhino square, and then I hope that the other one hits him so hard that he flips over. And sometimes that will also flip over the other one. Oh yeah, something I haven't mentioned yet, which is a pretty basic strategy, is to hit the speed breaker as you drive into a roadblock. The speed breaker, not only does it give you like a slow motion effect and more grip, it also gives you a much higher weight on your car, and you will have a much easier time dealing with the cops. And yeah, on my first playthrough I did not understand the speed breaker. I was pressing the button, I was like, what does this do, man? It just slows down the game. It makes no sense. And then I started steering and was like, okay, and then I can't even do corners. What is the what is the point of this feature? I did not understand it. I didn't see the usability of it. So yeah, I just never used it until much later.
I think the power of Speedbreaker is generally very underappreciated, especially during drag races. It can become really, really useful, especially if you don't know the exact pattern of the drag race. So I think a lot of people don't even know you can trigger the Speedbreaker in drag races, which you can, and it gives you free access. Like usually you can only move from one lane to the next, but if you have the Speedbreaker active, you actually have complete control over your car.
Oh yes, very true, and very convenient too. I use it myself. Because that ability to choose the lane now freely instead of being in those predefined lanes during the race, during the drag races, does help you. If you just want to finish it just a little bit quicker and you don't have to slow down, and also consistency, so you don't have to worry about rubber band beating you.
And the even more interesting thing is the demo of Most Wanted actually told you exactly that. It's like, hey, here's this drag race. Remember, you can use the Speedbreaker for complete control. However, they completely failed to convey that information in the final game for some reason.
That is true. They took that out. I'm not sure if they ever tell you in one of the SMS or so that using the Speedbreaker also makes your car a lot heavier and you have an easier time pushing other cars out of your way. I'm not sure right now because, I just tend to skip all the cutscenes in speedruns, so...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
I'm
don't
not
tell you though.
100% sure about
like they tell you
what they
about the
actually tell you.
Speedbreaker. Like they tell you about the Speedbreaker, but it only that it slows time and that you can weave through traffic. Which is like, yeah, there's like one traffic car every 10 seconds. Ooh, definitely need slow motion to weave through that.
True. So when I drive into a roadblock like this, I'm always trying to get like a full takeout. The entire roadblock is destroyed, the spike will disappear, but also the game can spawn the next block.
Yep, block.
I just took out the same cop twice. Needless to say, that actually doesn't do anything. You can't get the bounty twice.
You can't kill something that's already dead.
Exactly. Just gonna create a little bit more damage. Okay.
Interesting positioning.
Yeah, he was a little bit far out there. Usually he's a lot closer to the others, so I get the chance to take out at least the second one. And yeah, in this chase I wanna just create as much bounty as humanly possible in these 7 minutes. Like anything close to 1 million is fantastic.
I remember at that gas station we recently it was a few months ago, we had a bug where the entire gas station was completely missing except for the roof. Like that was just still in midair.
The pursuit breaker was gone and both pillars were gone. It was just the roof hovering in the air. I know partly why it happens, because you do get... when a cop can actually drive through it and break it. And I assume that it just happened on both pillars. Okay, I'm gonna turn around here without getting stuck. Yeah, that was good. Oh, something very dangerous here actually. If you are in the very center of that water tower, it can capture your car. It will fall basically all around your car, bury you, and you will be stuck there. So the game will not reset you. And if a cop is nearby, you will be busted. So the only way to get out of there is to actually pressing the reset button. And that will also bust you if a cop is nearby. Yeah. So if you get captured by the water tower, you better hope that there is no cop nearby.
Yeah, the only way to safely reset is actually with...
he's gone.
Oh, damn. Why are you running?
Why are you running?
The only way to safely reset is actually if your car is upside down, and then the game will automatically reset you. and that will actually not bust you. Versus when you press the reset button at any point and you have a cop on you, you're done.
Exactly. I think it actually just happened like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, definitely happened a few times already.
Okay, the buggy cop is gone, so now we got a regular cop on us, chasing us, so we can keep going here.
Also, don't be afraid of the spikes. You can push them out of the way. Trust me.
Not everything is Pepega mode. Although people recommend since you guys made that Pepega mode, everyone is asking for a Pepega mode for every game.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You don't even want to know on the Pepega mod Discord server. It's insane.
Madness. Right now I'm contemplating if I'm gonna go for... Oh wow, did you see where the cop spawned? He spawned on the different level there.
Oh yeah, no, I saw it.
So I don't think I'm gonna wait another 2 minutes for backup, it's just gonna create a 10-minute chase. I think we're gonna... I have 8 roadblocks, that was one of the milestones, so the rest is just gonna be... Oh, there's a cop.
Attention units on the code 3 chase.
Brutalized. I hate that though when I get stuck in the wall. Basically, I want to escape straight to the hideout. That only works if there's no cop in front of me. And there is one in front of me. Alright then. Regular escape spots as per usual. Because if you do get to a safe house, you don't have to wait for that hiding animation to finish. You just immediately go to the safe house and save a few seconds. So if you can do that consistently over the entire run, you can save an extra half minute. But it also means you have to be very precise with everything. So yeah, Ming has been unlocked, and he does have one more lap glitch to do. Little Italy. Barely saves any time because the lap is like 1 minute long. But as it still does save time, we're gonna do it. You wanna know one thing about Ming's Gallardo?
Sure.
It is one of the cars that actually comes fully upgraded, and that is why
really?
This is one of the most viewer-suggested cars for speedrun, because everyone knows, at least a lot of the community knows, this car is fully upgraded, and they were like, hey, why don't you just pick Ming's Gallardo? It's fully upgraded early on in the game. Well, 2 reasons. The car is actually not that fast, even fully upgraded. So it doesn't even outperform the other cars that much, or at all at this stage. I'm not sure. I would have to actually like test Ming's Gallardo against the Golf with an aerodynamics +5 tuning. But additionally to that, so you see the heat level on my car? It is at heat level 4 right now. So if I would switch to a new car, it would be all the way back to 1, and you would have to rebuild the heat level in order to finish the run, and that would lose you probably 10 minutes or so just to rebuild a heat level 4. And yeah, Ming's Gallardo cannot be that much faster to save 10 minutes in racing time.
Yeah, the only category where you really switch your car is 100%, because what you do in that category is first you still pick the Golf and you make it through the blacklist, you know, with all the cops as fast as possible, and then you go ahead and buy a lease, which you then max out and do all of the rest of the races with, because the lease fully maxed out is actually the fastest car. At least on
Absolutely. I mean, there's one event or another where I think the Carrera GT can get a faster lap time, but for the most part, that is true. But there's a big downside of the lease. It is the lightest car in the game, and you just get bullied by the cops, left and right. Like, if they ever catch you, you're done. It's gonna be a bust, guaranteed. And it was in the original route where we were basically developing the speedrun. Like we just had the lap glitch, or not even that. In the very beginning, when I started, you know, building the speedrun around Most Wanted, there was no lap glitch, there was no boss skip, and obviously I was trying out things like, you know, changing the car, and the Elise was really fast. But at some point we noticed, man, just sticking to the Golf is faster than rebuilding the heat level on the Elise, although the Elise was much faster than the Golf.
Yeah, not only is it much faster, but also way safer, because the one good thing about the Golf that I think a lot of people don't really realize is how good it deals with the cops. Like, there's like an aspect of pushing power that you have against roadblocks, cops, rhinos, whatever. And the Golf is really good at that. Like, it has a lot of pushing power and it can deal with the cops extremely well. Better than any of the other starter cars.
Since it's front-wheel drive, you actually don't have to deal with too much wheel spin. Like any other car with rear wheel drive, just tends to wheel spin, and then the cops have such an easy time nailing you down. And things like, you know, manually shifting a gear up to have less wheel spin. You will have less wheel spin, but you also will have much less power because your wheels aren't obviously turning that quickly. So you basically want quickly turning wheels and grip, and that is where, you know, the Golf does a really good job. Also, it's small, so doing quick turnarounds and like fitting into gaps works with this car really well too.
And that is why the Golf is better.
Exactly.
Well, while you're racing Ming here, we got a few donations coming in for you.
Yeah.
We got a $10 donation from Jen the Bug that says, my little brother used to play the older Need for Speed games all the time when we were kids, so this is an awesome shot of nostalgia for me. Always tried to get him to pick a purple car, but he never would. So thank you so much for picking the purple car, and this donation goes to Mini Golf. We also got a $15 donation from Mintopia that says, thank you to everyone for an amazing week of speedruns for a great cause. And we also got a $5 donation from Zephyr here that says, to add on to the trivia about Most Wanted cop speech from earlier, Blackbox also had voice actors record certain voice lines about weather conditions and something called a smoke screen, but neither actually got used in the video game.
True. And the purple card just keeps on giving, triggering even more donations. I'm not sure if my siblings ever wanted me to pick a purple car, but I definitely do remember my siblings asking me for so many things when I was playing games.
Well, now you have a community to ask you those questions.
Now I have like 500 siblings every day wanting something from me. to all the way up to a deafening level. Nah, it's not that bad. That was the wrong Speedtrap though. We want to do this one first. Utilize all of our nitros. So yeah, JV. I think we're gonna have to extend the cop chase on this one too, because we didn't get that 1 million bounty that I was looking for in the previous chase. Whoa. Yeah, that's not gonna work. We need 290 here, and that car was in the perfectly worst spot. So what I'm gonna do here, this one is easier. So I'm just gonna recharge my nitrous here and then redo the other speed trap. You need to do speed traps and a whole bunch of milestones during the cop chase, as well as get the bounty to even be allowed to drive against the blacklist. And yeah, if your goal is hitting speed traps, let me give you the tip of using the NOS at the very end. Like usually we use it as fast as possible because it increases our speed and we're gonna have a better lap time, but if it's just about top speed, the later you use it, the easier it is to hit the speed traps. Because that's where the car like actually needs help. Alright, can we do the quick escape? And then we're gonna do the lap glitches for this chapter. Let's see, 18 and 14. Nope. One of the worst things that could happen in any run is for the game to crash because you have to redo all of the lap glitches.
Yeah, generally.
Because these settings, they get reset as well.
A game crash is really like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's gone. I feel like the developers had a lot of fun designing this event here. Because you take that shortcut and then immediately have to go hard left. You can see how the NPCs like all crash into the wall. No control whatsoever. And if you do it for the first time, obviously you expect to go down the entirety of prison. You don't expect.
Yeah. It's quite a debate because at that point you've already done the full prison jump.
Exactly.
Several times.
Like you already know what it looks like and what's gonna happen now. And then, there's a wall for you. But yeah, usually you're not really gonna run into any problems with the opponents unless it's a Speedtrap event, and those are gonna be here until the very end of the game. It is mostly in the middle of the game where you don't have the fastest golf yet, where the opponent's rubber band can actually outperform you. Later on in the game, the golf is just so freaking fast that it doesn't even matter how much they rubber band, you're still gonna beat them convincingly. Because even with rubber band, they actually rubber band so hard that they're too fast for the corners and they just crash out. So it's basically always rubber band crash, and they can't catch up to you no matter how much they do.
Are you saying that the Golf is best?
Well, talking about the best car, another one of those things that the community loved to do, and myself too. I always was wondering, what if I could the Junkman, you know, those unique performance upgrades, into the M3 GTR. And that actually makes it the fastest car in the game by a lot. Because usually you can't even put a turbo into the M3, and then you have like the upgrades that you usually can put on, and the Junkmans that you can put on, and the turbo that you can put on. Usually, and then you put that into the M3, and then you have a really insanely fast car. One of my favorite cars to just play the game through, and it feels still realistic, not to a point where you have like a ridiculously modded car in the game, like Cross's Corvette that goes up to 500 kilometers per hour. I mean, what is that, 300 miles per hour or something?
Yeah,
320, 330 miles per hour. Ridiculous Cross Corvette. Which is also a lot of fun to play, but you notice this is like modded in and it's super broken and it's too fast for the game really. While the M3 has just an insane amount of grip and that cornering speed is just unmatched. And it's really fun to play.
Talking about Junkman parts, one thing I always found really interesting is how there is a Junkman upgrade for pretty much every single part, like tires, engine, etc. Except for the nitrous. Like there is no Junkman nitrous.
In the Korea. Only in the Korea. Only in the Korea there's no Junkman nitrous, because there's a Burger King challenge. It's basically when you type Burger King on the starting screen, you unlock an extra event for the challenge series. If you beat that, you unlock all the Junkman parts for the single player mode. So offside the career. And then you actually do have a Junkman NOS there, which basically makes the NOS more powerful. But yeah, it is true that this is completely missing from the career mode. The developers straight up forgot to put it in. Like, none of the bosses will reward you with that Junkman part. And those are also consistent. Like, you're always gonna get the same Junkman parts from every boss. And I'm really happy for that, because imagine speedrunning and all you want is get like the Junkman engine right at the beginning, and you reset every single time you don't get the Junkman engine. That would be painful. That would be really painful. To a point where I would be, you know, in favor of modding the game to a speedrun version, where you don't have to reset for, let's say, Junkman luck, you know? How many different parts are there? 7, right?
I think so, yeah.
So imagine only 1 out of 7 runs is viable. If it's statistically, you know, evened out, you do 7 runs and you need to reset 6 of them. And that's statistically. You can easily end up doing an entire day of resets for Junkman parts.
What makes this even more painful is every time you want to reset, you have to do the prologue again and again and again. That's like just 10 minutes to get to that point where you can just roll, you know?
Yeah, if you do it perfectly, you can do it in like 9:22. But still, it's just very taxing. But I think that is true for basically any speedrun that is reset heavy in the early game. And you have to watch like a prologue cutscene, or you do like a pretty lengthy prologue that you always have to do before you even know if the run will be alive or not.
I mean, it's kind of already a thing with Most Wanted. Like, if you don't get the cops during tests in the race,
Oh yeah,
you're already done, basically.
True.
Like, that's just too much time
yeah.
lost.
At the minimum, that's a 70-second time loss that cannot be recovered. So basically, when that happens, you're like, okay, cool, let's, I don't know, practice
After
a little
4.
bit and then do another run. Try not to mold too hard and then go back into it. But yeah, that's something that we had to a much lesser extent in the route we were running 2 years ago. That route, while it was like 9 minutes slower, was a lot more consistent. It allowed for a lot more flexibility on how you beat the chapters. There were basically multiple paths you could take to get a good time. And that has been severely limited in the new one. But yeah, I was quite excited when the new route was found. Gave me a reason to come back, learn something new, and get a much better time.
Yeah, I mean, you beat your old time within like a week or two. It was quite
Yeah,
insane.
but then it took like another 2-3 weeks to beat that time again. It kind of shows you like how inconsistent the cop strats are. I mean, I looked at that video again and was like, man, I wish I just didn't do that mistake and would have had another 90 seconds, right? Just get that.
I mean, you always think
luck.
that way, right? Always,
Huh?
like when you look at your old runs, you always think that way, like, I wish I didn't do that. But at the end of the day, you know.
Retrospect always 2020.
One sad thing with the new route, unfortunately, is that we don't really do Ronnie anymore. And there was
Yeah.
one kind of like community meme thing that we did, and since Ronnie has those cool glasses, Kuru would always usually wear those glasses during Ronnie's race. But since we now skip Ronnie, rip.
Sad times.
But hey, you can still use them at Webster. You
Yeah,
know, who wears glasses
I
there?
could use them during Webster, or I put them on when we skip over Ronnie.
Oh no. You put them on
Poor
and then 2 seconds later off again. Goodbye, Ronnie.
I had to blast by him at 300. Sorry, Ronnie, not today. You know what I love about this shortcut? It is a lot more useful uphill than downhill. Downhill, you're actually gonna lose that speed that you get just going around the shortcut, while uphill you're so slow anyways, you might as well cut the track. So just going in the other direction changes up the route quite a bit. That's what I meant, you know, but the game just has really good world design.
Yeah.
They
sure.
thought of so many things, they implemented so many things that just makes it a really enjoyable experience.
Yeah, very much in contrast to this world map is the world map of Carbon, which is more... How should I put it? Well, first of all, it's
Curvy?
more technical, more curvy for sure. But also it's not as connected. Like, you have a lot of roads that are just kind of cut off. Like, it takes like a lot of time to, you know, go to a different road. And this becomes really, really obvious when you play Need for Speed World, which, if you don't know, is like this MMO that EA had, where they basically connected the world maps of Most Wanted and Carbon. And yeah, you really notice it there.
The thing that I noticed in Carbon, as you said, you know, it's more curvy, so you're not going to be as fast driving through the city as you are in Most Wanted. But also, everything is looping also, Like there's 3 areas of the carbon map, and they're kind of circular, where you go on a road and you just follow the road. You're just gonna circle through the same part within the city. In Most Wanted, that doesn't really happen that way, because if you drive like a certain road, it's just gonna lead you to the next part.
True. Yeah, it gives you a bit of an insight how these maps might have been built. Like, I can totally imagine that they built Carbon's map where they basically just built a bunch
3.
of... yeah, they basically
3 separate
just...
maps, put them together.
Yeah, maybe. Like, what I was about to say was that they might have designed a few circuit tracks, and then they put them all on top of each other, and then connected them. That's why you always loop.
Yeah, that actually does make sense.
While with Most Wanted, you know, it's more organic, basically, right? Where they just designed roads that they thought were fun.
Oh yeah, since I actually saw it quite often in the chat. The Who's Kuru thing is something that happened last year. I was competing in a Formula 1 event with Formula 1 races. One of them was Charles Leclerc, and we collided multiple times. And he crashed out so much he didn't even get a qualifying time. And then he was raging at the chat with who is Kuru, because we, as I said, we always collided, and he didn't know who I was, and that has stuck around since then, and it has been a lot of fun, and I think it's gonna be a lot of fun in the future too. Definitely one of my favorite experiences.
Who is Kuru though?
You never know, man. It's a
Is he
mystery.
like an athlete?
But yeah, I think at this stage we're not fully upgraded yet. We're still gonna get the Junkman engine, the end stage level 3 engine upgrade, or level 4 actually, and gearbox. But you can already see that at this very point we don't really have any troubles anymore with the opponents. Not even on Speedtrap Events. It was mostly in the mid game where that actually becomes a problem.
Patrol members be advised. A suspect wanted in connection with assault PO has just been reported westbound near the power.
And especially if you're new to speedrunning this game, and for the very first time, you know, you drive well. You get first place all the time, but then you get into a Speedtrap event where if you don't drive absolutely perfectly, you're gonna be ahead, you're gonna be in first, but you're not gonna be in first far enough to outdo the rubber band. It can be quite frustrating. Definitely something I experienced in my casual playthroughs early on, back in 2005 and 6. It was one of the games that I just replayed every year, where that just happened all the time. And you're like, man, I was first, I still lost, this is not okay. Okay, cool. Found the cops during the chase. GV is actually a chapter where we just want to get the milestones as quickly as possible, optimally within a single set of backup. But it's really not easy.
One thing I just noticed as I looked on the minimap, the moment you finish the race, the opponents don't actually drive to the finish line anymore. Like they drove completely off. And they were like, Kuru won
Usually
again.
they do finish though.
Really?
So, yeah. So,
Yeah, they actually followed the highway there. I noticed that. They were like, Kuru won, guess we can go home early then.
Okay, yeah, maybe the race just ends for them and they keep going in whatever direction they're already driving. Because
That's
I
very
do
possible,
know
yeah.
plenty of events where they just continue as usual and they just get it. So I think the last 11 cops we want to take out with 2 pursuit breakers. Oh yeah, we mentioned the combo system earlier. Basically, every time you take out a cop within a 10-second time window, you get a multiplier. You start with 1, then it goes up to 2, and then to 3. Then it stays at 3, as long as you keep taking out cops within that 10-second time window. And if you do that in a really efficient, consistent way, you can create a lot of bounty. There he is, I knew I saw someone. But I think he bugged out. Oh yeah. So when a cop bugs out, he runs away from you. Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna get this guy. One thing you can do is just drive in the other direction, hoping for another cop to spawn.
I mean, I would run away too if I saw a Golf in a chase. If I'm like a police officer and it's like, oh my god, it's a Golf. I'm out.
Oh, this is a pretty rare thing. We actually had the Rhino following us. Because very often they just drive away if they fail to take you down. I also have no idea what exactly triggers the game to do that. To make the Rhino follow you instead of driving away.
Well, I mean, more often than not, it only happens if you have basically no cop on you. And the Rhino is pretty much the only one.
Oh yeah, that Rhino flipped, but since I didn't touch his car, it actually didn't count. That's always kind of frustrating, because usually, you know, once the cops are upside down, you get the bounty, it's all good, but sometimes, not so much. Especially if they get, like, taken out by other...
Wow, that Rhino just drove through the barrier at the bridge.
Bala cops. Ooh. The thing is, the sidewalk has less grip than the actual road, so it actually could get you busted there if they pin you to the wall. Too slow. Yeah, considering that I actually had a longer chase here to get the necessary bounty, we could have avoided one of the speed traps. That's like a typical thing for Condition 4. Although you're still in full-on backup, you have a lot of cops on you. It's still very much possible to outrun all of them before, like, once again, the entire map is completely littered with cops everywhere. Game was a little bit inconsistent, you know, with the placements of the cops themselves. And I always notice it at Condition 4.
Good combo.
So yeah, one more pursuit breaker and we're out. And yeah, in a perfect run you get all the bounty in the world you would ever need from a single set of cops. I'm not gonna push my luck there. With the debris on the ground, it can slow you down too much. But yeah, this can be done like 2 minutes 30. Basically only one backup, get enough bounty, get out.
No, this is basically the art of the cop chase. You want to take out as many cops as fast as possible, all in a row if you can, with some luck sprinkled in there with rhinos and roadblocks and that.
And yeah, this is the spot where the chopper can see you. That's why, you know, this is adopted the perfect hideout. The cops have a hard time following you, and you can break the line of sight with the chopper as well. So even if you're in full-on chase, you're gonna have a fairly easy time. Yeah, right now we are at blacklist number 4 at JV. One more ball skip to Bull, then Razor, and then the final escape.
This has to be my favorite blacklist intro, to be honest.
I really like the start of this event.
Yeah, for sure.
Mostly because it's unique, right? Like everything else is just a regular race start. But here you have like the duel at high noon. Very nice.
It's high noon.
Yeah, talking about favorite cars, JD's Viper is one that gets mentioned a lot too. Which I get because Vipers
You're a
are just
Viper
amazing.
fanboy.
Especially back then, Viper was definitely one of my favorite cars. Chivi also being one of the fastest Blacklist guys to beat. 2 short sprints in the drag race makes for a very fast boss fight. This, in my opinion, was one of the hardest drag races to figure out, where you have like a consistent strategy, you have to swerve all over the place. And like you get really close to that truck, and then we're gonna be crossing over to all the sides. First we're going left here, then we're going back to the right, then we have that car in our way, back to the left, then this car is going to be in the way, back to the right. Like I had many different strategies before I came up with this more consistent one. See, that's what I meant. Like, even though he's rubber banding after us, he still really doesn't stand a chance anymore. And it's gonna get even worse once we get to the next chapter.
Well, while you're racing through there, we got a few more donations coming in for you here. We got a $5 donation from Javi Nitro that says, "Good luck with the run, Kuru."
I don't know about you guys,
nice.
but driving under the truck in this game was always a super fun thing to me.
I think it's audio. Something is going on with this audio.
Hey there.
Hey.
There we go, you can hear me. Hey, that went a bit weird there. No worries. Just saying, we got a couple of donations here. We got a $5 donation from Yavi Nitro saying, "Good luck with the run. A nice purple color." Purple is doing work here for that car. We also got another $5 donation from Waikuria that says, "Hey Kuru, Waikuria here. Just wanted to wish you good luck on the run. Awesome to see you run in ESA again. And also, try not to mess up the bridge jump this time."
That would be bad.
It would be very bad. And coming at this point as well, we are going to be doing a quick host swap here. I'm going to be swapping out. So I'll catch you all later. And taking over is going to be Boy.
Very cool.
Right. Thank you.
So, beat Ah shit, I forgot about the classes.
No!
We skipped over Ronnie so quickly, I forgot, man. So yeah, Junkman engine, very, very powerful upgrade. Then we're gonna combine it with the ultimate engine and the ultimate transmission. Now the Golf does a casual 386. The usual Golf from around the corner. Man, the spoiler's getting more and more important. The only thing that stops this car from getting airborne. Oh, here's a little trick. You speed brake into the speed trap, because if you're extremely fast, usually 300 plus, and you trigger a speed trap, it can happen that the game just puts your car into the ground. The game has a really hard time spawning all the assets in place because you're moving so fast. And then it spawns you straight into the ground and you stop. And the only way to fix it is to speed brake so the game slows down and actually has enough time to do everything.
And speaking of going airborne, what you can do is actually, if your car has enough downforce and you manage to flip your car, what you can then do is hit the speed breaker and your car will actually slightly lift upwards.
True. As we mentioned, downforce gets increased as you speed brake, but since your car is upside down, the speed breaker will actually lift your car even higher.
Upforce, pog.
Yep. I mean, it makes sense physically. On the other hand, I think gravity would have to say something about that. But then again, like, most racing cars produce downforces that are heavier than the car itself, so it's possible. That's why you see Le Mans cars flying when they lift off. It's just what it is. I'm not sure I've seen anything like on a Formula 1 car. They usually dismantle into so many pieces before that can even happen. But you might know that video of the CLK GTR in Le Mans that went flying.
Hi there. I might just welcome everyone in, just say hi, make sure everyone's good.
Hello, can you
A
hear
little
you?
bit of a time there. I want to make sure I wasn't going to interrupt anything. But hello, hope the run's going well. Good luck, and I'm on hand whenever you need me.
It's all good. When you get some donations to read, let us know.
Okay, well we got some now, but
Cool.
just let me know if there is some time. But
Yeah.
cool. Okay, we got Mike Ham with a $5 donation saying hello, good luck, Kuru. Another $5 donation from SXMXX, also saying good luck to the run. Or luck for the run to you, rather. And then PokeGod11, $20. Loved Most Wanted since I played it when it first came out. Shout out to the Lotus Elite for being my MVP car for the game. Putting this towards Wacky World of Miniature Golf, and keep doing a great job, guys, raising for the Swedish Alzheimer's Foundation. Thanks so much for those donations, guys. Keep them coming.
Absolutely, thank you. So, one of the things that we do here, you see that we have a heat level 4 right now, but there's a little bit of trick to this chapter. If you complete 4 events, Razor snitches on you, and you get heat level 5 on your car instantly. And this is like one of the bigger time saves, because you get an insane amount of bounty on Condition 5 cups, and... oops, saved. So having the game boost you to heat level 5 first without going through minutes of Condition 4, that alone saves so much time. It's one of the major reasons why this rerouting has been much faster. So if you saw Isa's run from 2018 of Most Wanted, this one is 9 minutes faster on paper. Like, if you do everything right on both runs, this one's 9 minutes faster. Oh, I just remembered a very basic thing that I haven't told you guys yet. For speedrunning itself, not only do you want to play on a PC version so you can perform the boss skip, which requires you to hit the continue button with your mouse, you also want to have the 1.2 version, because that's the only version, the original release was 1.2, that allows you to perform the lap glitch. Starting with 1.3, that is not the case anymore. They did find that. They did find that glitch, they did patch it out. And it's actually not as easy to find as you might think. Like most of the most wanted versions that you can buy are 1.3. So you're gonna have to go through probably a few versions before you find your 1.2. But then again, the game has amazing resale value. Like if you have the time and you just, you know, order the game from 5 different resellers and you find one, you can easily resell the other 4 and probably not even make a loss.
Actually, isn't there a down patcher on speedrun.com?
True. That's actually something fairly recent. So if you just want to speedrun the game and you do have 1.3, this is official for speedrunning, so it allows you to basically down patch your 1.3 game to 1.2. And then you can also perform the lap glitch. Because that was actually one of the most requested things ever in regards to most wanted in speedrunning. People wanted to do the lap glitch, most people have 1.3. And, you know, just having the option now to use any version and make it 1.2, it's perfect.
Yeah, makes it a lot more accessible.
Oh yes. Took quite a long time though. Like when did it happen? At the end of 2020?
Yeah, recently.
Yep.
For sure.
So, last lap glitch, if the game doesn't crash. If the game doesn't crash, number 23, Campus Interchange, is gonna be our last lap glitch. This is where we change the lap number to 1 and we turn off the traffic. This carries over to most of the events that we do in the career mode and saves us a lot of time.
I'm wondering, when you played the game, were you able to finish it on your first playthrough?
I did, yeah.
Damn.
that was not a problem. It definitely took a very long time because I know I got busted all the time. I had to rebuild my heat level. But I actually do remember one thing about my first playthrough. My final car was a Carrera GT. My first car was actually the Golf because I did have the Underground 2 save file. So I was like, yeah, let's buy the most expensive car, why not? So Golf was definitely my starter car, and the Carrera GT was my final car that I used. It had like this pearlescent red metallic paint and like the biggest body kit. I think it's body kit number 4. And then I put a spoiler on top of that too, and like another huge spoiler, and it was very impressive looking, just very huge piece of car. That is actually something that I do remember quite a bit because I did end up playing a lot of multiplayer in that car, so I still have it very much in my mind. Oh yeah, there's another piece of trivia for this game. You remember the Junkman parts that you get from beating the bosses? And I thought I was clever, and I basically farmed every single Junkman part and put them into my Carrera. Since the stats themselves on the bars increase, I thought that would also work online. But the developers actually thought about that, and in order for you not to be forced to make save files with like a perfectly Junkman car, they disabled them. Like online, the Junkmans didn't work. And if you take the Junkman upgrades out of the equation, the M3 GTR is actually the fastest car online.
Can you actually pick it online?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I do remember getting beaten left and right by M3 GTRs, and it didn't make sense to me. Because the Junkman Carrera was way faster in the career mode. And then you go online and I was like, why is it so slow now? It took quite some time to realize it.
Well, nowadays we have the 911 to dominate. Dominate multiplayer Need for Speed.
Yeah,
the
now we
cycle
just
continues.
picked up the last speed trap here. At the end of the event, we just used our momentum and kept driving for a little bit. Sorry, I interrupted you.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, cool.
Didn't say much. I mean, when I played Most Wanted for the first time, I mean, I'm a good bit younger than you. So I think the first time I played Most Wanted was in 2007, I believe. So I was 7 years old at the time, and you know, as a kid, you just suck at video games.
Yep.
It's just how it is. So I never actually got past JV because I would always get busted by the Condition 5 cops. But yeah, played it back then on my PlayStation 2. Obviously didn't have any multiplayer, so I never actually played this game online.
Yeah, it's so true though, because I remember like my first gaming experiences when I was 6 years old was a Nintendo 64 with Super Mario 64, and I did play that game a lot, but I never finished it. Like I came back to that game many years later, you know, where you have them, when you have the brain and the actual motoric skills to actually beat those games in the first place. Like it was a lot easier to beat Pokemon back then than Super Mario 64.
I mean, to be honest, Super Mario Kart, or just generally Mario Kart 64, is pretty difficult. Like that game is not easy.
Yeah, true. You can fall off everywhere.
Yeah.
Like there's some levels, especially like that event with the traffic on the highway. You just hit cars every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
When you do it for the first time. And then there's the mirrored cup where the car is actually coming from the front and it gets even worse. And that is definitely a trauma that I still have from my childhood.
Actually, I have a very similar trauma because my first racing game was actually Driver 2 back on the PlayStation 1. Shouts to the 3 people in here that played that game. But that game was notoriously difficult. Also had a really bad frame rate on the original PlayStation 1. And it came with 2 discs at the time because it actually has 4 separate open worlds, which, you know, for PS1 time is really cool. And you can actually get out of your car. And this was before GTA was a thing. And was 3D. But the story, like you could just, you know, free roam and do, you know, fun stuff, cover secrets. But the story mode was really difficult. Like there was basically a timer on everything. And that timer was so, like, even if it didn't make sense, or when you had to follow a car, like sometimes you have to chase other cars down, and they don't do any mistakes. They are scripted, but you have to basically drive perfectly. And there's debris, the roads are really difficult, there's cars, traffic everywhere, and I never ever got, you know, I didn't even get to the second disc, and you can only access the second disc if you have completed the first disc.
Yeah, makes sense.
So it's like, yeah. That is my personal trauma.
Yeah, I also have a driver trauma because I got the demo of Driver 1 and I could never make the prologue. Like I couldn't get the tutorial.
Dude, the prologue in Driver 1 though.
I couldn't beat it. Also, I didn't really understand it. There was just, you know, this post-it note, and I didn't even know what the game wanted from me.
What's the burnout?
My
What's
dad,
the 360?
Yeah, exactly. My dad didn't understand it either. Like he tried.
Damn.
My dad couldn't pass the tutorial of Driver, so that was a game that we completed many years later.
No, yeah, Driver 1 actually might be a bit more difficult. I actually finished it last year for the first time. And the final mission, you kind of have to escort the president into like a parking garage, and it's like I don't know, like you have to drive across the whole map. It's raining, so you have 0 grip, and there's cars coming everywhere. You can't leave your car, you kind of have to stick with it, and it's a nightmare. Like I could only do it with safe state.
Yeah, that reminds me of Midtown Madness. Like
Yes.
The first Midtown Madness, it's
Very
so
similar.
brutally difficult, like how easy your car breaks. And you hit a single car, you can't even win the event anymore.
Yeah, it's very similar, honestly. However,
I remember replaying Midtown Madness 1 recently. It's still tough as hell, man. It has not.
Dude, all games are really difficult.
Yeah, all games are hard, man.
It's because
Midtown Madness 2 in comparison is a lot more completable.
I mean, yeah,
You
it's
gotta
just
be a little bit of a masochist.
old games. You know, since they couldn't really stuff a whole bunch of content because they just didn't have a lot of disk space available, right? So they just had to kind of get a decent amount of play time still, you know, for the player there. And
True.
well, the most logical solution was just to make the games harder. so players are just stuck and, you know, get more out of their game, so to say.
Yeah, like you don't wanna play 2 hours on a game and then you're done with the story.
Yeah. And nowadays, like, the trend has completely shifted. Like, games nowadays are
like
really
nowadays
easy.
it's more like we
they have a lot of
want
content.
all the players to experience the full game.
Yeah.
That is, in my opinion, okay, as long as there's some multiplayer afterwards that you can continue on.
Yep.
Because otherwise you're just gonna end up with a very short single player, and you're kind of like, I just paid $60 for this.
Yeah, multiplayer nowadays is extremely important. And I think this is, you know, I think we both agree in large part what killed the most recent Need for Speed.
Mm-hmm. That was just a very strongly missed opportunity. Whoa, opportunity there. I think we have pretty good. But one thing you can do, you can activate the speed breaker and look backwards to make sure that you can block them off.
It's again the Clio. Remember earlier when there's like a Clio that pushed you into the truck?
Yeah.
They have it out. They have it out for you, man.
In another life, I probably keyed one of them.
Nice pinstripes.
It all comes back to haunt you. Karma, it never forgets.
At the moment, we do have another donation that just came in.
Okay.
For all caps, the Raleen, $5, just says, good luck there. The run is yours. It is your run, here. Kuru says, excuse me. Definitely your run. Thank you so much indeed for your donation there. Would like to remind you that all donations for ESA Winter 2021 are again supporting the Alzheimer's Fonden, the Swedish national fundraising organisation focusing on Alzheimer's disease and other dementia-related diseases. The World Health Organization, WHO, classifies dementia as one of the world's greatest health problems, with just over 47 million people who are currently affected. It is estimated that that number of dementia diseases in the world will have tripled up to 2050. So, obviously the work that the Alzheimer's Fonden do is very, very important, and it's any and all donations are greatly appreciated. So thank you so much for your support, and I hope you keep on enjoying the runs.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Much appreciated.
So, for this chase, we're gonna create as much bounty as possible with 2 backups, and we're gonna try to we have to get the minimum amount of spikes. That in combination with the bounty milestones are the 2 that we have to complete.
Yeah, what you can see.
That's when the pushing power of the Golf becomes very relevant.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna have a really hard time against Condition 5 cops pushing back in any way, shape, or form. And you still have to use the speed breaker to have more control over the entire situation.
Yeah, for sure. With most other cars, you know, they usually have a lot of wheel spin, so you're basically just
You're done.
stuck. Yeah.
That happens too sometimes when the cops they're upside down. Either you wait, and they will break eventually, or you touch them, then they break immediately. And it's a lot easier to outsmart the cops if you go in reverse. If you go in front, forwards, I mean, the cops are basically coded for that. They have a very specific movement pattern when you move forward. That was close.
No.
We got nearly sniped from the side there.
Oh man, that would have been bad. It probably would have pushed you in the spikes there.
Maybe. I feel like it would have just flipped me over sideways.
Yeah, all that.
That was a lot of momentum going there.
There's one thing that happened recently, like, I'm not sure when it was. I think it was sometime in December. But, you know, Kuru was kind of like doing a run, and there was like a roadblock in front of him. And then there was like a rhino coming from the side, which he couldn't really see because the sun was in the way. Like, it was just kind of like emerging from the sun, like, Omae wa mu shundeuru. And then he like crashed into him, and then, you know, Kuru kind of got pushed into the spikes, and well, that was that for the run.
It sounds like an excuse, right? The sun blinded me. You got lucky. So yeah, now we are basically gonna work on the double spikes, and what we're gonna do for that is drive on this very wide road. You need the road to be wide enough to spawn a double spike. So we're gonna be driving this road up and down, which we have been doing anyways, because it's a very efficient path to take out cops. There are a lot of pursuit breakers along that road. But yeah, now we have to go here, because we do have to get the spikes. Hey, we found Cross.
Hey.
Hey. Let's see if we can take him out with
The combo,
full
yeah.
bounty. No, he refused to get anywhere near the danger zone.
If you can get Cross with a multiplier that's like 300k,
It is, yeah.
insane amount.
And to be honest, it's really good for the speedrun.
Yes, absolutely.
That can save you half a minute, if that's like the last amount of bounty that you needed. Cross is kind of funny in comparison to all the other cars. He doesn't actually drive up to you. He drives close to you, but he won't ram you. And unless there's some weird situation, he can't really bust you because he actually doesn't even get that close. He's not getting close enough to even perform a bust. So, wow, actually it's the same spot. 2 more spikes. So yeah, now, honestly, we're just gonna take out the rest of the cops here and cross. Hey, 300k, there we go.
Hey, all good.
That is what I meant, like you need to have, within a 10-second window, you know, 10 seconds or faster since the last time you killed a cop, you're gonna get the 2x or even 3x multiplier. So, I'm fairly confident that we have plenty of bounty here to finish the game. As long as we don't spawn a chopper here, we can also escape at the water park. So 2 milestones are absolute minimum. 3 will come from speed traps. And then 2 more from here. You could go, I think the next one you would have to go for would be the regular roadblocks, but even that, 6 more roadblocks now would take forever. You're probably gonna finish the 9 minutes chase first. So Tori is waiting for us. He does not have another lap glitch. Just double check there, because he does have an extra circuit race.
You know, there's a bit of a sadist in me that kind of wanted you to get busted there, but I'm still glad you made it through. Still rooting for you.
Hey, no worries, man. We got another chapter here where I can get busted. You know, his car just stands out not being riced.
Yeah, it's like the only non-rice car, pretty much.
Yeah, but it's a good looking car. I wonder if it. Nah, it can't be. It can't be because the brand said you can't customize the car, because you can customize the SLR. At least I doubt that they said, hey, you want our car as a boss car? It has to be
Stock.
a stock. I don't think so.
I think, you know, that's kind of like the charm, like this insane customization of cars that, you know, you just wouldn't really see over
Yeah, I just have a fast car, bro. You can't even call it a sleeper, it's an SLR. It's just elegant and fast. But you know what? The Golf is better.
It is. Always better.
Whilst we're moving on, mind if I just talk about some upcoming incentives, perhaps?
Oh yes.
Of course.
Excellent. Well, later on today, I believe after the next run, we have, I believe, Final Fantasy VII Remake is happening later tonight. If I'm not completely mistaken. Sometimes I'm just completely all over the shop when it comes to the schedule, but if I'm not mistaken, it is later today. Yes, it is. Cool. I am right. There is an incentive to make sure to make our runner take the stairs rather than take the easy way out. The goal is $750, and that's currently sitting at $630. So about $120 away. So if you want to see our runners take the stairs, always a bit of fun, maybe you might want to donate towards that. And tomorrow morning as well, on Saturday morning, will be Golden Sun: The Lost Age. We have a very funny incentive to make Kraden angry. Now, maybe some of you don't know what this is about, but there are certain options that you can do to really infuriate one of the characters, Kraden, by responding in certain ways. That goal is $300, and we're currently sitting at $235. So $65 away. So if you want to make Kraden angry or get some exercise in for our Final Fantasy VII runner, make sure to get those donations in. You know what to do.
That does sound like fun. We have something similar in Underground 2, where we basically borrow a car from someone, and instead of delivering it, we do 3 street races in it.
I've always enjoyed those kind of like small things in games.
Yeah,
like that.
it's like the
Like-
love to detail, right? The little bit of extra that nobody's expecting, but is definitely happy for if it's there.
Yeah, especially when they're kind of like humorous takes as well, because it just it's maybe a bit of levity if it's quite a serious moment. So yeah, the Kraden angry ones is really good, because like I remember no one knew about it, and then just someone just decided to just answer in a very specific way, and he just got really really aggressive at one point. Like, it's not like him at all. It's a real break of character, so it's good fun.
Now there's something similar in Most Wanted actually. Like if you complete the prologue and you buy a car, what Mia, like the character, tells you is, hey, come to the safe house so I can clue you in. What you can do is just free roam around, maybe even get involved with the cops already, and I don't know, after like 10 minutes or something, you get an SMS from Mia where she's like, hey, where are you? Don't keep me waiting, loser.
True.
I think not a lot of people knew that existed. I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, like I also discovered it because someone in the chat told me, and I was like, oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody, I don't think on their first playthrough, at least most people didn't, like start just randomly free roaming around when the game is like, hey, come to the garage.
Yeah.
And it's on the map with a GPS and everything.
I mean, what you were basically just saying earlier, where you can, in the beginning of Underground 2, where you have, Rachel's car and you just kind of need to deliver it, to the garage. I didn't know you could do races with it until I started watching you play it. And I was like, whoa, what the... How? How did I never find this?
Especially the third one. I knew about the other two because they were visible on the map, but there's like a third event that is actually hidden, where you need to know where it is. Then she gets really mad. Like, she already gets mad after the first and very much so on the second one, but after the
third one she's molding.
Yeah. She's about to rip your throat out. So very important not to do the boss skip here on Bull.
Yes, very important.
So far you've seen that we've always skipped the bosses by doing the boss skip, clicking the continue button on the right. If you do it on Bull and you try to skip Razor, the game just crashes. Goes into a soft lock and you're done. Then you're gonna have to redo the entirety of Bull's boss fight, and maybe you lose heat level 2. I'm not sure how consistent the heat level loss on that one is, but basically the game has the mechanic of, if you rage quit, which also counts if your game just crashes, it will lower your heat level. I personally think the developers did that to make it easier for the player when they get back into the game, right? Let's say you failed on condition 4. You alter for your game, and then you get back into the game and you have, like, let's say heat level 2.5. So you're gonna have much easier cops to deal with.
Probably, yeah. But that actually also works on console, because that's something I always did as a kid.
Yep.
And I was like, since I was like sitting a bit away from the PlayStation, like, and I would notice myself getting busted, I was like, okay, I'm getting busted, throw the controller away, just sprint to the console, hit the power button, let's go. Try again. Don't get busted.
Screw this, I'm out. Yeah, sometimes you just want to see it, right? You know you're about to be busted and you don't want to see it, you just turn it off. Just a little bit more to go. I saw earlier, like, you can't spell you can't spell sleeper without SLR.
Well, that's true.
And I was like, yeah, it's a nice catch actually. Do your thing. Alright. One thing you can actually do just for fun, if you don't want to pick the markers, you can actually do marker skip. Kind of like the boss skip.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
You do that?
you can just click on the button down there as well.
How did I not know that?
I don't know, maybe I just never showed it to you.
Damn.
But if you feel like, you know, saving yourself a quarter of a second.
I don't need money. I don't need a pink slip.
Actually, at this point, you actually don't need money, right? Like, you
Yeah,
already
yeah.
have the car
Pretty
fully
much.
upgraded. So we need 320 for this, and once again, I want to speed brake through the speed trap to make sure that the car doesn't reset. And we can pick up the speed trap right after. And now we do have all events already glitched. That's what I meant earlier. Like, the lap glitches do carry over to multiple events sometimes, and all the lap glitching that we've done so far glitches the entirety of Razor. The events before you challenge him, and then all the events as you challenge him. That was a pretty early discovery too. Shouts to respect APA. He did that. Put a lot of time in to figure out like which events get glitched if you glitch at a certain point, and yeah, a lot of trial and error to figure that out for me, because I didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just certain things that I'm okay with if I do it in a repetitive manner. You know? Certain things I can do over and over again and I'm fine with it. And then there are some things that I don't want to touch with a 10-feet pole.
Like how you can
Like either
like
someone else does that, or I'm just not gonna do it, you know? I'm not gonna bother. Either someone else does it for me, or I'll just skip it.
so you can play several thousand hours of Blur multiplayer on the same tracks with the same cars, but you can't do that.
Yeah, I can do that, absolutely. Just to get that fraction of a second fast every time. So yeah, final chapter here. We are at Razor. You need to do, I think, 10 out of 12 events, or is it 11 out of 13? I'm not sure right now how many he has. Either way, 2 stay behind, the longest ones.
What's really interesting to see is how active the Most Wanted community is, or just generally the community for classic Need for Speed games. Like, it's insane how much, you know, so many people still love and play these games and come together to celebrate them, make content about them, mods, speedruns. It just really goes to show how good these games still are, even nowadays.
Yeah, they definitely stood the test of time. And they are just more popular than the newer ones.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, I'm luckily not the only one that prefers to play the older games that had a much higher production level. Like, so many new games, you just play them and then you just go on, try to find something else.
Yeah.
They don't really have too much replayability, and you just want more, or at least something else.
Although I will make the argument that if Most Wanted came out today, we might not hold it to the same standard as we do nowadays, since this game is kind of like, you know, a bit older. Because if you compare it to like other modern racing games, I think nowadays we want more than what Most Wanted offers. But since we just have a bit of an emotional attachment to Most Wanted, and we started, expanding it, making content for it, be it speedruns, mods, or whatever it is, it's just much more alive than I think it would be if it came out nowadays. Because on paper, for modern standards, it's kind of bare bones. Like, yeah, you have your multiplayer, and you have a career that's really good, with like, replayability if you think about the cops. But yeah.
Yeah, there are definitely some gameplay elements that you would have to add.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like just a ranked multiplayer would do a lot just for a competitive scene.
Sure.
That alone would get me hooked. It's fun to play with people, but once there's a number next to your name, bragging rights, and just getting paired with the stronger players on a consistent basis, it's just, for me personally, as a competitive guy, very, very fun.
But yeah, I still think though this game has stood the testament of time, and if you think about how much more content the modding community makes for this game alone, then like, if you think about the DLCs that Heat got, for example, which was exactly one, with one car. And then you have on the modding side, and then on the modding side, you have like complete overhauls of the game that change the career, add content. Like it's quite insane how much love these games still get nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it is easier to mod older games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very often, because you just have more access to the data. But it also comes down to like which games were actually bought in a bigger amount, and this is still the most sold Need for Speed out there. I think it sold 19 million copies, which dwarfs all the others by a lot too.
Yeah. Although I think Heat sold quite a bit. I think Heat sold actually really well.
Look it up. I honestly do not know how much it sold.
I don't think the sales numbers are publicly available.
Yeah,
However,
so here's the thing. If they don't make it public, they were not that good.
Yeah, true. But I have one thing. So you know how Heat came out months after it's initially released, came out on Steam, right? And currently it has 15,000 reviews.
Okay.
Which is quite a decent amount if you think about it. Like this came, I think it released on Steam 1 year later. It was about 1 year later. And 15,000 reviews. I mean, I'm not sure what the ratio is. Like maybe 1% of players or 10% of players write a review for the game.
Yeah.
But like that's a really good ratio. Like for a game that's like 1 year old.
Yeah, but one thing companies absolutely do: if a game sells well, they brag about it.
Oh, that's fair.
Because that's good for their stocks,
That is fair. I mean, maybe they talk to it about investors, right? And then they brag in front of it investors, but they don't make that information public. Anyway, I'm not EA, so I wouldn't know what's going on there. I'm optimistic that Heat sold well, and I think it must have been, because otherwise, why would they, acquire Codemasters for 1.3 billion? Like, sure, probably, has something to do with F1 2020, or just generally the F1 franchise, that they see like a massive source of income there. But yeah, I mean, they're distributing these developers to all of the franchises they own now, and I think that just kind of shows that, maybe racing games start to become more profitable for them.
Yeah, definitely like what they've written up, even though it's like corporate talk when they say like, yeah, we have so much opportunity now, and we can now make better racing games. While there's a lot of publicity around that writing, it's still there's still some truth to that, in my opinion. I do think that they have more opportunities now with the funding of EA and the talent of Codemasters, especially for a future Need for Speed. We might not feel it immediately in this year's release of Need for Speed, but at the very least the next one after that.
Yeah, generally, like for the next Need for Speed, I would just kind of hold my expectations a bit back, because there's like two major factors. Number one being that the Criterion is not really the Criterion from back then. It's basically a new studio with an old name. Like it's a bunch of developers that came together that haven't really worked together before, right? Like Black Box was like Black Box for years, Initially, they made Hot Pursuit 2, which was, it was really good. But, since the team, stuck together, or at least for the most part stuck together, they could just work together much better, which is not really the case with the new Criterion. But also, since COVID obviously makes it a little bit harder to make these games, I think that, like, in terms of size of the new Need for Speed, we might see a bit of a downgrade.
I'm not sure.
We're gonna have to see.
We're gonna see.
We're gonna have to see.
I do expect it to be similar to Heat, that they not try to reinvent the wheel too much, so they have more time to actually develop the game. So that's at least my guess, that there's not going to be too much innovation, because innovation takes time.
Yep.
And yeah, pandemic is like, time is not something you guys have right now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was always kind of like in my opinion, the quote-unquote issue with the newer Need for Speed games, that you had a small team with not a lot of funding that always tried to do something new. Like, you went from Rivals, which was kind of like an open world Hot Pursuit, to what came afterwards, 2015. We don't talk about 2015. And then they did Payback, which was like this, Fast and Furious type, like very action movie based. And then, then they went to Heat, which was another 180 basically.
The game that shall not be named.
So yeah. But yeah, we're gonna see. I also think it's gonna be similar to Heat, especially just because it's more easy,
Yeah.
But yeah, quite excited.
I'm also looking forward to how the Codemasters games are affected.
Yeah, for sure.
Because a lot of the newer titles, while they were not bad, they were not exceptional. Not to a point where I was like super excited.
And I think some of them actually sold really poorly, mainly the Grid 2019 and Dirt 5. I think those games didn't really strike a chord with the racing community. But
they were a little bit undercooked.
yeah, absolutely.
So this is exactly what we need. We have a quick escape here, sub 2 minutes, and we got 850,000 bounty. Those are both the minimum requirements to unlock Razor. So we're done with the chases. Sorry, Eden, no bust for you tonight.
I'm sad.
do have enough bounty, so we just need to do one more speed trap to get the necessary amount of milestones, but then we're just gonna do 8 more races and the Razor is coming up.
Speaking of things coming up, maybe I can talk about some more donation incentives we have available.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent, thanks so much indeed. Now I've got to go find them because I've forgotten where it is. There it is. Okay, cool. So we have the big thing we have on right now is our bonus game, the Wacky World of Miniature Golf. Cutscene percent. Noun percent is in. Big John's going to run Wacky World of Miniature Golf towards the end of the marathon if we can reach $5,000. Currently it's sitting at 1,418. So, we're making progress towards that, but you can definitely, help that journey along its way if you would like to put some money towards that incentive, and obviously to support the cause. That should be always a bit of fun to add another game to the schedule. Looking pretty good so far, of course. So, if you want more ESA, more marathon action, you know what to do. Come on, guys, give me something funny to read. I always enjoy, reading some horrible puns, terrible jokes. And, yeah, exactly. Oh, no. Dad jokes, puns. I don't know. Are you guys up for that? I'm not sure. But yeah, it's always nice to have a laugh. So, make Kuru laugh. Let's go. Or groan. It could be a groan. But a laugh or a groan.
I think that's the event where I have to pick up the Speedtrap at the end. Yeah. Definitely. Actually no. It's very similar. Like, that event would have ended there at the toll booth, and this one goes to the left. It's a little bit more down. But yeah, Razor's molding as well. Sending us some hate mail.
But I bet he would be one of those, one of those kids who's,
From Xbox.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one of those Xbox 360 kids. With those
I mean, I always
mics.
thought it was over exaggerated, but it happened both on PlayStation 3 and on Xbox. Because
Yeah.
it was that during Blur, where I was dominating so hard that when you're so good at a game that people think you're actually cheating, and they feel cheated out of their chance of winning. That's when you get like the most hilarious messages of salty kids.
I mean, I honestly never had that, mainly because, I didn't really have a lot of internet. Well, I did have internet, of course, but not really on my PlayStation. But one thing I still vividly remember, and this was Burnout Paradise that I was playing on my Xbox 360. And basically in Burnout Paradise, when you take someone out online, I'm not sure, they might have removed it from a remaster actually, but when you took someone out on the original, it basically, if they have like a PlayStation webcam, it makes a snapshot.
Oh, yes.
And I would, it was always the same, I could always see them molding. My favorite part was definitely when I took out someone and it was like a kid literally yelling. Absolutely yelling, mouth open
Yeah, I do remember.
at the screen.
I do remember that feature.
Oh my god. It was the best.
Now that you mention it, I did have a similar experience with that, just mad people on the end of the camera.
That was good times, man.
So, 4 races left. And one more Speedtrap. Razor not too far off now. Final chapter is always very interesting. Traffic has been maxed out, so if you're gonna hit traffic, it's probably gonna be here.
Yeah, especially these roads. Corners are mostly blind, not a lot of space to maneuver. I'm surprised he didn't hit a truck so far. Well, minus that one,
True.
that one drag race, but
Yeah, we got trucked one time. But yeah, with that quite high amount of blind corners, it happens very often that you're just gonna hit a car and you can't do anything about it. It's just gonna be there all of a sudden, and even at the last second speed breaker, it's not really gonna help you. Right there. There's the SMS into the speed trap. And that's where I was going too straight last time in the last marathon run that actually soft-locked the game. I had to restart and lost heat level, and added a lot of extra time to the run. You want some tips for speedrunning this game for a beginner? I mean, it's basically a similar approach to any speedrun really. You wanna have good sources. Watch the world records. See how they play the game. But usually how I approach a new game if I want to speedrun it, always do a 100% playthrough. I just want to see everything the game has to offer. Maybe sometimes, more than just one time. Just see everything the game has to offer, and then with that information you can move on to see how you would, approach a speedrun, what you need to improve on. And, you're just gonna do runs, and if you, suck at a certain part of the game, you're gonna practice that.
yeah, I think there's also a bit of a mental thing about how do you approach a speedrun. Like, if you're gunning for a world record from the first day you start speedrunning, I don't think you'll have a lot of motivation.
Yeah, true.
Like, just
if you're
I would
like
say,
an hour and 50 minutes behind, you're like, oh my god.
yeah, I would exactly. Like I would say, just make your own time, try to beat your own PBs, and just progressively get better and better.
Yeah, like the best thing you can take away from the record is like the strategy. So what actually is done
Yep.
to get the time down. You're still gonna have to do a lot of practice racing just to get the correct racing lines, and you do perform the events quickly. And then you're gonna have to learn how to deal with the cops in an efficient way. So you take them out, as many of them as quickly as possible, so you can spawn the next set of cops. Man, there's a lot of rubber band going on this event right now.
Yeah, but I think you're far enough ahead, so it shouldn't be an issue.
That is true. And that is usually the saving grace here. I'm basically an entire speed trap ahead right now. Like, I'm not actually leading, I'm just an entire speed trap in front of them.
I always found the opponent names really funny. Sushi Gibson, 10 Cent, the little brother of 50 Cent.
Bootleg discount, 50 cent.
10 Cent.
We have our first pretty interesting joke here from Big the Dave, if you're interested in hearing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big the Dave, $5. Why did the criminal get chased by trees instead of the police?
Why?
Someone called the cops. Spelled C-O-P-S-E. Very good. Like it, Big Dave. Big the Dave. That is awful. Oh dear. Good start. Start as you mean to go on.
The best puns are the ones that physically hurt.
Yeah. if you don't feel it, like in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
chest. You know.
The cringe must flow through your body, through your spine. It's gonna make you shake a little.
Feel the cringe. But yeah, approaching the end of the run, and the end is actually where you're gonna see the most funky stuff in terms of glitches and whatnot.
True. Out of bounds are gonna be happening. And by the way, I just noticed when my screen turns off, you cut out shortly.
Oh, do I?
So if you said anything, I did miss it.
I didn't say anything.
What's my favourite thing when PCs do that? They just shut down for a moment. You're like, oh wait.
Yeah, I can't hear right now. Give me a second.
Because he can't hear us, maybe we can get away with some stupid things.
Golf is not better.
We'll be in the middle of saying something and we'll come back. We're like, oh yeah, no, of course, yeah, absolutely agree. Cheese is fantastic.
Oops. Eden, if you can hear me, write me on Discord shortly.
I'll do.
We could have messed with him, Eden. We could have just not responded and
No.
just see the panic arrive in his eyes. It's been like, do I focus on the run or do I worry about the tech?
You're gone. I think his second PC, because he has two, I think his second PC just went into resident sleeper mode.
Oh, I see.
That's
It was
probably
like
what
a
happened.
monitor that went down. I've never tried streaming with two PCs. That's too scary.
Okay, you can hear me, but I can't hear you anymore.
Yeah, we're
Could you ask Tech for me if I can refresh the OBS Ninja page? In the meantime, I'm gonna do the race here. It's actually the longest. Top of race we got here. You can see 3 minutes to the next booth. It's just 5, but it is taking quite some time to get all the way through here.
Well, now I'm anxious to say anything because I feel like you might interrupt.
Commentary roulette. Just start speaking and see what happens. Imagine if I get a cracking joke, you know, for Kuru, but he can't hear it, you know? That's the real shame here.
He's gonna miss out.
Perfect example of where the traffic can mess with you. Alright, give me a second. I'm gonna try to change it so I can hear my co-commentators.
We're doing it live, folks.
Run
Yes, I can hear you again.
Hello.
Oh, perfect.
That was a
Perfect.
fun
We miss
Fun.
you.
journey we all went on there. We weren't saying anything mean about you behind your back.
Yeah, no.
Just, you know.
I will watch the
Only
VOD
awesome
afterwards.
No, we've been foiled even.
Compromised.
Quick, delete the VOD.
That's what to say
ESA,
that.
please, save us.
So camera is fine and everything? Camera and mic?
If so, I can hear you
Cool.
just fine, and you're still up on the stream, so...
My crew, now that you're with us again,
Yeah.
do you want to share what kind of event you are currently running over at your channel? What's going on over there?
But yeah, so some of you might know me as the racing game guy. Used to be Need for Speed only, but now we have spread out into other games as well. So right now I got my own marathon going on. Obviously not gonna take away any attention from ESA. Definitely watch ESA all week. And then you can consider watching me afterwards. But yeah, I'm doing my own marathon where I just play as many different racing games as possible. So let's see if I'm fast enough to actually trigger that speed trap here. Nice. So that was the last speed trap that we actually had to do. And it's time for a race against Razor. No time for cutscenes, just racing.
Now, one interesting thing to think about. So, Razor took your car by sabotaging your engine,
Yeah.
which means that he would have had to repair the car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for an M3 GTR, which is a fairly rare car, that must have been so expensive. I would really like to know where he got that money from.
Good question. I mean, I feel like race car engines they're usually not just expensive, but also not really that durable. Like usually, race engines, they last for a race, and then either they get replaced entirely, or you have to like change out a lot of the parts. So I think this is first race against Razor. No fancy stuff here yet, but I think it's about time that we get our car back. One way to trigger actually quite a few people is to just call it Razor's M3, just because he took it away from you. You know, there's some truth to it because he did modify it. Like, after Razor gets M3, he does put in better parts, and the car does become faster. You know, the Golf is so powerful that the first gear will never be green. You're not gonna be able to hit the green because the car just jumps straight over the sweet spot, and you're gonna have to shift on the red line. But it is still faster, so we do it. You basically not hit the NOS and then, you know, try to farm. That extra perfect shift, but it just slows you down. So, and we did manage, we did say that we're gonna have to show off the funky stuff right at the end of the game. So this is gonna be like the first substantial out of bounds that saves you a good amount of time.
And yeah, funnily enough, this is the only race where you can actually do an out of bounds that is worth it. There are some other out of bounds in other races, but they don't really save any time, so they're really not really that worth it.
True. It's not the only out of bounds, but definitely the only one that does save time in a race. The second one I'm gonna show you later is not in a race per se, but in a chase. Alright, here it comes. You ready? That was a pretty fun thing to do. First time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. So here, you can turn around and get out of bounds. This barrier is set very badly. So you can drive between the wall and the barrier, and you can go all around prison. Prison is usually, you know, a winding up slope, really slow. A lot of extra driving necessary. And here you just go around, use all of your NOS in a super nice straight line, accelerate, get up to speed, and cut off, I think 1.5 kilometers to Razor. You can go back in through those barriers. You can pass through if you are on the outside, but you can't get out if you're on the inside. So it's supposed to keep you there. But yeah, quite a nice time save. I think it's 15 seconds, maybe it's just 10. I haven't done it in a very long time without it, so I can't be 100% sure.
The Razor's supposed to be this kind of like real badass like drag racer, right? He's getting absolutely smoked.
Yeah.
He's no chance.
Nobody stands a chance against the Golf. You can't bring, a knife to a gunfight. No chance.
By the way, I just have one. I need to read this out right now. I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Muffin Mado, $6.66. Hey, guess who's back? I have a very dangerous one for you guys, since you like the one I sent earlier. A man drove his expensive car into a tree and found out how the Mercedes bends.
God.
I like that one though. Yeah. I think that's one of the better ones.
It's a good one.
Yeah, fair. That one's actually creative.
Thank you, Mado. Yeah, this cut here is kind of funny because I actually lost to Razor before because in like casual playthroughs, he takes that shortcut in the third lap, and if you haven't seen him take the shortcut, you don't even know it's there. So he took it on the third lap, and then you have to redo the entire race. They're like, oh, thank you for wasting 5 minutes of my life, but at least now I know that there's a shortcut. But yeah, we're not gonna spend so much time as to actually ride 3 laps. Speedrunners only take 1. And the last one. It's also a really long event. Poor Razor though.
I mean, he had it coming.
Yeah, true. I still think that hurts your ego pretty hard.
Getting smoked by a Golf.
Generally, race car versus hatchback.
Yeah, that must
the odds are in your favor, and you just lose in a very dramatic fashion.
Wow. I still think Razor is probably one of the most memorable villains. Mainly, I think, because he was just kind of simple. I think the simpleness of him and what he did was just, it struck a chord.
I think generally someone taking away your car is pretty strong.
Absolutely.
Especially when you really like the car. Like, I definitely started this game, I was like, this is a really cool car. And it's actually mine.
That's generally very effective storytelling. Like, you give the player something that he really likes, and then you have someone take it away.
And that's your antagonist.
Yep. And to be honest, that's all it needs for a racing game. Like, I don't need like a super complicated story for a racing game. Just something that works, that motivates and drives the player to actually play through the game. Like, that's all it takes.
Yeah, but it really only worked because the car was good. Like, if they use a different cover car, for example, in Need for Speed Heat, the Polestar, I don't think I would have been too mad. Actually, I wasn't that mad that they took that car away.
Yeah, but I actually also think it has something to do with you just spending, like, 2 minutes with that car?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you
it's
just,
short.
do like 10 minutes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's 3 races on that car.
It's the start of Heat is just weird because you have all of these characters, you're even playing as a different character and you just don't know any of them, so there's like no attachment, right? In Most Wanted, you play as the player, basically, you are yourself. And then you have these people that you just meet, and then there's this one guy who takes your car, the only thing that really belonged to you, away from you.
True, that's like the only thing you came with to the city.
Yep.
Alright, done with Razor's chapter. He got busted, we got his car, and now, the most impressive glitch really of this game. At least if you take aside how much time the boss skip saves, it's still, you know, the more fun glitch where we're gonna get massively out of bounds.
It's quite spectacular, yeah.
I was very excited that was, you know, that we were able to incorporate that into the speedrun at a time save, a substantial one too. It saves 3 minutes going out of bounds in the final escape. So yeah, first things first, you gotta hit this wall here. It's a lot easier if you look back and hit the speed breaker. At a certain angle, the car just drives through. You keep on driving for a little bit, the game resets you one time. Then you just keep driving here. And now we are, as you can see, on the world map, where you can drive. There's plenty of, you know, planes you can drive on. And here, you gotta be careful to actually follow the road, because the walls do extend under the map, and you will hit them if you don't drive correctly. So here comes the second part. Now we have to hit that rock formation there. Ooh, this actually might work.
I just saw it.
I think it works. Let me try. Yeah, this is good. Okay, that was super. Oh wait, I have no idea what's happening. Give me a second. Maybe we land on it again.
Okay, that's definitely
It looked good for a second. Now we're gonna have to do that again. It looked good for a second, but then the car went airborne. There's so many ways to get this wrong.
Especially, I've never seen that reaction. Like, I've seen this out of bounds several hundred times by now.
Yeah.
That was a new one.
That was different, yeah. I was about to say, that never happened before.
What?
Especially, it definitely was on the correct plane there for a second, but then it jumped off.
Yeah, I saw it. So weird. The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, one way to do it right and a few thousand ways to do it wrong.
Yeah.
Especially, it's one of those things that you practice like a few times before you do the marathon run. You're like, yeah, I got this. It's gonna be fine.
And you did one run. Actually, two, I think.
Yeah, but I was talking about like the out of bounds at the end.
Ah, okay.
Like I got a save file for that, so I can just do it like five times, and then, you know, if I get it 5 times in a run, like, okay, I'm good, I got this.
And yeah, don't ask us how this got found. We don't know. Pretty sure the guy who found this also doesn't know. It's just like that weird angle there. And looking back to the speed breaker, it's so specific. I don't even know.
Okay, this looks like a better approach already. And so now this is go on, slide where I need to go. There we go. So this is the angle that we were looking for, because this is the angle that actually allows you to drive all the way to the bridge escape. As you can see, we're even further below the entire world map. If you go high enough, you will see the objects being rendered into the game again. This is just, you know, the drawing distance. You can see which textures get rendered at a certain distance, which are not. But yeah, we gotta stay below the roads, otherwise we go back into bounds too early. And yeah, usually you have to wait 5 minutes for me to call you and let you back in. And let you escape there, but we can not only drive through it, we can drive under it. On the right hand side where the stadium is, there's like a bagger and some other, like a construction site that don't let you pass. So yeah, once you see these trees here, you can start braking. Make sure that you have a somewhat smooth entry. And then all we gotta do is drive to the bridge, hit the speed breaker, and get the final jump.
GG.
GG.
I heard you hit your foot pedal there. That
I
wanted to
did
split.
hit my foot pedal there. That is 100% muscle memory. Like, run is done, you split, you know.
Yeah, GG.
It's deep in your brain. You can't get rid of that. And it's usually always 420,000 bounty. I don't know if you ever noticed that.
Tap on that. Boom.
Blaze it. But yeah, that is most wanted. How long did it take? I don't have the timer up.
I'll have a look for you now. It was a slight bit of a late split, but 3:52:01, I believe, for the time you went.
Nice. Actually, pretty close to my estimate with all the marathon strats and bad luck. Actually, really bad luck with the cops in the
cops were really long.
I mean, honestly, it's one of those things. It's so close. You're pretty much bang on the estimate. So close to it. So that's a very good job.
I mean, you just think about how the cop chases could go and where things usually don't go as smooth, especially if a no reset run, where the cops if they don't do what they're supposed to do, it's like 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there, and it was basically like on all the cop chases, 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there, 2 minutes there.
Yep. Yeah, I know how that feels. Well, GG's. Obviously, great run. Excuse me, bloody hell. Anything you guys want to say before we move on and head off towards the future of our marathon? Is there anything that needs doing?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having us. Big shoutouts to all the Need for Speed and racing game fans out there, my community, Eden's community. Eden, of course, for hanging out with me here for nearly 4 hours. Much appreciate that. And all the good causes you do over all these years. It's still very amazing. Always fun to be here. Thank you so much. Eden, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I can only repeat what you said. Big thanks to the Most Wanted community, to ESA for having us, but special shoutouts to Kuru for basically having me, and he is kind of support dude. But also, letting me work full-time with his YouTube channel has been a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to lots more fun in the future. So yeah, thank you so much.
Cool, thank you.
Guys. Cheers. With that, we're going to be jumping away for just a little bit, and then we're going to be moving on to our next run. Up next is going to be Neo 2. Now, the reason this is going to be quite an exciting one is that ESA Winter 2021 has a variety of sponsors. Twitch and ViewSonic, the regulars, but for ESA Winter 2021, Koei Tecmo Europe are obviously a big part of the sponsorship here, with Neo 2, the complete edition, obviously released on PC. So the next run's going to be very, very exciting to see that game in action and see the speedrun. And if maybe you'll be jumping into Neo 2 yourself a little bit later on at home. Who knows? But yeah, thank you so much indeed, Kuru and Eden, for that great run of Need for Speed Most Wanted. Thanks so much indeed. As I said, we'll be taking a quick break and we'll be coming back with Neo 2. That's it from me as well. I was just here to cover the end of that second half of the run. When we return, Paul Lister will be joining you as your reader. So thank you very much indeed for all of the support you've been giving. Make sure to keep on supporting ESA and the Alzheimer Fund. We'll see you in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Thank you.
All right. Peace.
Bye.